Welcome, everybody, to the Netherkast. I am Cyborg, and I am joined, as always, by Temp, Razor, and Shad. And the Netherkast is a long-running Mortal Kombat podcast from 2014, and we've been going for over 8 years. So if you're not familiar with what we do, hey, stick around for a bit, and you might like what you hear, as we dive into all things Mortal Kombat. Some other things I'll draw to your attention is we have a Discord. Check it out in the description. We, all of us, as well as our entire community, are on Discord, and we're talking all things Mortal Kombat, including Mortal Kombat 12, every single day. In the chat, you can learn all sorts of things about the lore, the characters, as well as other games like Street Fighter and so on. And beyond that, we have recently started live streaming, and that is every Monday at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. And it is myself and Down4, and maybe even Shad, going through all the Mortal Kombat games, starting with Mortal Kombat 1, which we did a couple weeks ago, and then we did Mortal Kombat 2, and just recently, as you're listening to this, Mortal Kombat 3. So tune into those, because it's always a fun time. So we'd love to have you there live, and join us as we get our asses kicked by Kintaro and Shao Kahn. That being said,
while the ROM experiences memory leaks,
yes,
and we struggle in pain.
All sorts of craziness. Yes, that was a disaster, but it was a lot of fun. That being said, on today's episode, we are going to be, as you can probably see on the video if you are tuning into the video on YouTube, we are going to be ranking every single character in Mortal Kombat history. Maximilian Dude recently did a tier maker for who he wants to see in Mortal Kombat 12 and whatnot, so it kind of sparked an interest in the community for this kind of content, plus who doesn't enjoy a good tier list video. So we are doing something I don't think we've ever done, so correct me if I'm wrong, but we've never gone through the entire history of Mortal Kombat characters and given our own personal ranking of them. And we're going to be ranking them, as you can see on the video, from S, A, C, D, and then somehow there's B here. I don't know how that happened. So let me just adjust that on the fly. Brain isn't working too well.
There we go. Yeah,
that's important.
I've never been more proud to be a part of this podcast.
You know, to be fair, I think it started like that. I did not make it like that. I did not adjust that. I think the one that Razor shared, I noticed that earlier, but forgot to change it.
It was fine when I used it.
Look, I don't believe you. Plausible deniability won't hold up in court. It's fine. Hearsay, Your Honor. All right.
When you're part of a community wherein you spell things incorrectly with a K for decades and decades, things are gonna slip. It's okay.
It's fine.
Yeah. Should we actually rename it ABKDF?
I see what you're doing. Anyways, so yeah, and we're gonna go through alphabetically. So we're just gonna go one by one as you see them here on this list. And yeah, so we're going to get through as many as we can, and if it runs on a little bit long, we'll break it off into a second part, and you can tune in next week for the finisher. But we're going to do as many as we can, so let's run through it. So starting off, we have Ashra. And I will say we're each going to give our rankings, and then we're going to basically combine those rankings to determine their overall ranking of the Nethercast, so us on this episode.
What you see on the screen will be the average between the four of us.
Unless we can do some convincing, because maybe there's somebody's gonna stand on a hill and really try hard to convince everybody to rank them something different. So we'll just kind of see how it plays out. But Ashra, what has everybody got for Ashra? Razor, why don't you kick us off?
Ashra's a solid average, straight down the middle C, for me.
All right, so
I think so.
So far, we're at a C.
My attitude towards C's is characters that I want to like, but I feel like something is holding them back.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to how I'm ranking them, C is kind of for me, C is just kind of there. Don't love them, don't dislike them. It's kind of the middle of the road tier for me. All right, so Razor's got her at a C.
I mean, I feel like in school, a D is a failing grade, depending on how your school does it. Sometimes Ds can pass, but I feel like D and F is a fail. C is the beginning of passing. You got 70 to 75%, 79 maybe.
Yeah, this is going quickly to a Scott Steiner promo.
And then you
let us go live. We can't use the spell.
All right, Shad. So far we're at a C. Where are you placing Ashra?
I have Ashra as a solid B.
All right.
My Bs are characters who I like, that I think are very well rounded, that could stand with a touch of improvement here or there, or could maybe stand to go away, or could maybe stand to show up a little bit more, plus or minus. Characters I would definitely welcome back in any future Mortal Kombat game. That's what my B tier list is, pretty much.
All right. Temp. So we're between a
I
C and a B
got
so far.
I have a B for Ashra. Really, I don't
Boon
have
and
a
B.
system for any given letter. But usually, if someone's in B tier, there is something exceptional about them, and I think Ashra kind of has monopoly on the whole like light element gameplay, and I think her design is decent. I think the character idea is decent. She's very inoffensive, but I think the light thing kind of brings her from C to B for me.
Yeah.
I feel like you might be overrating her based on imagining what she could do. I tried to avoid fan fiction in my tier list because otherwise, like Darius and Dairu would be way higher based on our redesigns of them for the channels. I rated them based on what they actually are in Deception, you know?
I did that
And-
too, but I also try to add a degree of potential.
Yeah, same.
Like
Yeah,
I
I understand.
think these
Like,
characters could be a bit better and maybe a bit.
Also, she had light powers in Deception, right?
she had one fireball. She had Dan's fireball.
But it's
I mean,
also
it's
like
fine.
it's also a matter of like likeliness of that potential being realized. Someone like a Dairu, are they going to design this character in a way that's cool, or are you only the person that could probably like your ideas? So when I think of like an Ashra, I think if she was brought back, I think there is a lot of potential there that they really could mine from and do well with. I don't think the odds are bad that they would do
I
her
mean,
well.
maybe,
if that
but
makes
if
sense.
you really look at what she actually had in Deception, light was like a secondary thing, and her main thing was spinning and spirals. And
Spinning and spirals
those
are cool.
moves, those moves were fucking dumb.
I love spinning and spirals,
Like
man.
those
I'm all about
moves
it.
are what drops
a
her
good
from a B
trick.
to a C for me.
But I mean, then there's the voodoo stuff, right? Yeah, it was just that weird fatality,
Yeah,
but
I mean, she had one fatality with Voodoo Doll, and it was really cool, and I'd love to see them do more with it. But will they? I don't know.
Yeah, that's for me. It's the potential of what is there.
what
Sure,
to
you
work
could look at a
with.
character
Yeah.
like Darius or Dyron and say there's a little potential, but not for what's
mean,
there.
I-
That's
I
why
get
they're
what-
way
Yeah,
further down
it's like
my
how
list
much
than
would they
she
have to
is.
change to make her good? I don't think you'd have
It's
to
hard to
change
get
give
what
in like
you're
high light
saying.
powers.
I don't disagree with you, but for me, your perspective is what for me brought her from a D to a C, and for you, it's bringing her from a C to a B.
This
Well,
should be
I'll just-
very interesting.
Yeah, I'll just close this out. I had her at a B as well, which shouldn't
Alright.
be too surprising. I like Ashra even as she is. I didn't rank her an A, even though she is a favorite of mine, but I can't give her an A or an S because of that. It is unrealized potential, so I can't rank her any higher. But as she stands right now, for me, she's a B. And B to me are like characters that I like, but they're just not excelling as high as they could. So
I think I was just never all that impressed with her to start with because half of her story is ripping off Serena's.
yeah, I love that story. But you're not wrong. Okay, so let's move on to Baraka. Let's circle back around. I guess I'll start with Baraka. For me, Baraka is a C. I think just overall, the reason why I go with C is kind of like the middle of the road. Don't love him, don't hate him. That's kind of where Baraka's been at. And I go through all of his appearance over the games. I've gone from really liking him in MK2 to an MK Gold, he was okay, and Deception, he was fine. Like, I didn't dislike him or anything, but then, I don't know, for a while, he didn't really do much for me. And then, of course, in MK11, he had a strong showing. So, really, it's between a B and a C for me. I'm settled on a C, but I could easily see... settled on a C, I could easily see, geez, that's horrible. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if others put him more towards a B. But that's mine. Temp?
I got him for a C as well. By the way, C for me is not bad. Like most of my characters in C are not bad characters. They're either their potential was never realized in an interesting way, or they have one very exceptional flaw that I just can't overlook. I do not like Baraka. Like for me personally, I would never play this character. I would have been F, but he does contribute something very unique to the rosters he's in. He's the premier monster character in my opinion. He's gross as hell. I can't stand him, but he does what he does very well.
Yeah.
And he has a lot of fans. Like I said, I give Baraka props for what he's supposed to be. Not my thing, but yeah, I think C is a good fit for him. I put him down for C.
All right, so he stays at C so far. Shad, you're up next.
Well, just call me Mr. fucking Optimism here because Baraka's a solid A for me.
Whoa.
Yeah.
All right.
That's a good example, though. Like that, if you like the monster trope, like he's perfect for that.
Yeah.
I've always loved everything about Baraka. Like, recently I've said that, I think that his best looking overall feel and appearance is probably classic MK2 or Trilogy, but there has never been a game where Baraka's come along and I've said, I don't want this character here. I've never gotten sick of him. Like, I feel like he's played a really, really fun and good role in almost every game he's been in. Didn't even care when, Devora took his brain out. I'm always happy to see the guy. He's not a character I can ever really see myself getting sick and tired of. And 11 gave him a really good showing. I quite enjoy him a lot these days. I love his gold staples. I've always been a huge fan of like his old school fatalities. Love his moveset. There's not a lot I would change about that character, ever. I'd probably have his MKDC outfit show up a lot more often. I'd probably, give him back his MK2 posture and his steel teeth. That's about it. I love the guy. I don't ever want him to change. Shine on, you crazy diamond.
All right. And Razor. So far we've got 2 C's and an A.
Yeah, so like Temp, I don't really like monster characters in general. And the thing with Baraka is that he used to be like the definition of like a stormtrooper, like a no motivation background, the most henchman of henchmen. But so I would have put him at D. I wouldn't put him at F because for me, F is specifically characters who I think should be deleted from history and never return. So there's very few characters actually in my F category. I would have put Baraka in a D. But 11 finally gave him like a personality and a motivation separate from just serving the boss. So now Baraka's a C for me.
All right, so we have 2 C's and an A. Do we want to settle on a B? Would we?
I think we have 3 C's and an A.
Sorry, yeah, 3 C's and an A. I don't know what I said, but do we want to settle on a B in the middle ground then for him? Is that fair, or do we feel like we need to go with if 3 out of the 4 of us are leaning one way, we go that direction?
It comes out to a C plus or a B minus. I guess you could put him in B.
Yeah, I think
I have no problem with B.
Yeah, I was leaning between B and C, so I'm perfectly happy to put him at a B. But all right. Then there we are. Baraka at a B. I think that's plenty fair. All things considered, and that would take us to Fat Blaze. Or just Blaze in general.
Yeah, I think in this case it's going to be both forms of Blaze that count.
And you would be the one to start us off, Razor. Let us know where you rank Blaze.
Just a D. I don't really care about Blaze. I don't hate him and want him to go away forever. There are things you could do with Blaze. Like I like the idea of him being like that sort of distant observer, like the Marvel's Watcher type of character.
Right.
You could make him like sort of a distant cosmic concerns type of personality. Like I am beyond all of this, like the Silver Surfer or something. Could be interesting. But just based on what he is, bottom of the fucking thing, D.
All right, D for Razor to start us off with Blaze. Shad, if you are ready, sir, where do you place Blaze?
Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible, and you sound
okay,
great.
Good. Cyborg was having me try some different shit behind the scenes with my mic because he hates how I sound.
No,
Just kidding.
I think it
We
worked
offend
though.
him. Did it? Okay,
Yeah, I
good.
think so.
Good. All right. Blaze, asterisk not fat,
I spoke too soon.
is a solid C for me.
C. Okay, so we've
He's
got C and D so far.
I like him. I don't care for the whole huge fiery Rockman Astaroth appearance. When I was a kid, I used to like draw pictures of that guy halfway on fire all the time. I mean, all the fucking time. I like that guy. And I like what Armageddon did for him, what it gave him. I just kind of, wish he'd come along in a game or an engine where he would have had more of his own identity and moves. Thinking about what they could do with him in new games makes me, I don't know, quasi-erect. It could be a fun time. But he's not special, you know?
I do
Yeah.
think of Blaze as better Gearus.
Where
You're
do you
not
see
wrong.
that? Blaze is better Gearus. How do you figure?
Well, because they have very similar origin stories. Gearus is basically just a sand version of, Delia created an elemental to watch throughout history and wait for a certain event to happen, and then he becomes like the boss man.
Right.
And Gearus was created by Chronica as an elemental to watch history and wait for a certain event to become like her sub-boss man. And that's all they do. They're the same character, except one is a black guy with a giant fist and the other is a lava monster.
Interesting. All right. So we're between C and D so far. Temp, what do you got?
I got him in B. I think
Whoa.
one of the reasons why I love Fat Blaze so much is because I think he's very unique among bosses, and I think one thing I've realized lately is I'm just so burnt out on all the Mortal Kombat villains, to be honest with you.
Burnt out.
It's kind
See
of
what you did.
oh
Monster.
crap!
Ooh, this man.
Damn.
Temp, not me.
He called Fat Blaze unique when DarkCon exists.
Fat Blaze was first.
It doesn't.
And DarkCon doesn't exist.
Okay, at least he didn't say that the guy's
and then
fire.
corrupted Shinnok. How many Rockmen with lava glowing cracks do we need?
And
Blaze
excuse
goes
me,
first.
DarkCon is canon as of MK11.
Yeah, versus DC happened. It was MK8.
No,
So you're just
Yes.
wrong.
That's the actual timeline.
Okay, no,
it happened
shitposting.
between Armageddon and 9, and then Chronica deleted it.
I don't know how to say in clear terms that I don't care. Like, I don't care. I just don't care. It's
Joker
okay,
wasn't even
aside, like I
an
see where
MK
you're coming from, but yeah.
Well, I was just saying, MK11, Joker wasn't even a guest character because he's canon to the Mortal Kombat universe.
Yeah. This is depressing. No, but I just first of all, I think the fat part actually is important because it distinguishes him from Cinder. Because Cinder's like the premier fiery guy, right? For fighting games, you don't get more fiery than Cinder, and I think Fat Blaze kind of sets him apart in an interesting way. But I just think I like the idea of the guy in the pyramid. I think he's fun in a way that bosses haven't been fun in a while. Onaga's cool. Onaga is probably my favorite boss in Mortal Kombat. Oh, Shinnok's my favorite villain, but like I don't really like him as a boss character. Onaga fits that function perfectly, but Onaga is still just like, he's the emperor figure. Blaze is kind of unique in that respect. So this is not me trying to sell anyone on Blaze. If he stays in D, I'm fine with that. But personally, what's up, Razor? Yeah.
Well, you know what is unique about Fat Blaze? He bleeds nacho cheese.
That's true, yes. And I love nacho cheese.
I
give him a B.
Nacho cheese.
Like, this is definitely not my sales pitch for Blaze, but I definitely got a huge soft spot for him.
All right, you've convinced me to an S. Here we go.
Nice.
So we've got a D, a C, and a B. So we're so far all different. So coming down to me, I had him as a D. So do we want to settle on a C?
I think he averages out as a C.
Yeah, that's fair.
Victory is mine.
And that takes us to Borecho. For me, Bo is a solid B. I don't really have anything to say about it. He's a B. He's like a quintessential B for me. B. 10th. It's like the B movie. Now we just need to speed up every time we say B.
What's the deal with these bees?
Like, I definitely think Bo was solid in X, and yeah, I've always been one to criticize the whole, like, farting and puking. It's not my bag of humor, but I appreciate the archetype they're going for. I love Drunken Fist as, like, a fighting style, and I like him as a mentor figure. So, I mean, the good outweighs the bad for me. So, B. Tim?
I have him in A, actually. I really like Bo Raicho. I love where he sits in the lore in terms of, I think he has so many cool relationships in the story, from Raiden to Liu Kang to Kung Lao. I like his relationship with Li Mei. I think without Bo Raicho, Li Mei's story goes down significantly for me. I think he's really important to that. But
I can see that.
I love just the just sort of the irony that, you know, these disciplined, like highly trained Shaolin monks were trained by this guy who farts all the time and is always drunk. I like that. That's good storytelling, in my opinion, because you have that tension, and life is just not always what you expect. And but at the same time, there's a real like heart and soul there too. I think Bo Raicho is just a good dude. I like him. I like seeing him on screen. He's a likable character. I think solid A for me.
All right. Shad. We've got a B and an A so far.
The epitome of a B character for me.
Right.
I have
was
no
thinking.
problems with him. You know, I'm in the camp that wishes that, you know, maybe he would like fart a little bit less. You know, maybe just like once around. That'd be good.
I mean, there are ways
But
to do the like sloppy, goofy, you know, like the Drunken Master movies. I don't think had farting, did they? But
that's all I'm saying.
they still had silly slapstick, like comedic, drunken boxing stuff.
Oh yeah, don't
Right.
get me wrong. I wouldn't let.
That's the
He's
best
a
part,
fun.
yeah.
He's a fun and he's a funny character. I wouldn't change any of that for the world. It's just that, you know, maybe not every time he blocks. That's all I'm saying.
It's a bit lowbrow. Yeah.
My only real legitimate complaint is that I wish I could actually see more of him, because he, along with Kenshi, are like paramount examples. And if I'm, you know, being honest, Frost 2 are, I think, characters from the 3D era that actually made good in modern gameplay, in modern games. I actually kind of wish that he had been in 11. It would have been a lot of fun. I loved what MKX did with him.
Yeah. Maybe
He would be a good fit for that meta too. What's up, Zebert?
I would say if he doesn't make base roster of 12, I think DLC would make so much sense for Bo. Well, God, he's already been in DLC. Not that that's gonna stop them or anything, especially
I
with the
watched
game break in between. But I forgot. I forgot they already brought him in as DLC. It's been a long time since he's been base roster.
And I would actually really love to see him more in story mode. Like,
Yeah.
if we are rebooting again next time and like we're having some MK1 tournament hijinks told all over again, I expect to see this guy like seeing Liu Kang off to the tournament. I need more Bo in my life.
Yeah.
I mean, they should have done it in 9 and they didn't, so I don't know.
Yep.
All right. So we've got 2 B's and A. Razor.
I also have Bo as a solid B.
All right. B it is then.
I do want to upsell Bo if I can, right?
Sure. Yeah. Go for it.
So I think one reason why Bo is so important is because
And we're
prior
locked in
to-
at a B.
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
no,
Your
that's a
time has run
shame.
out. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
You didn't even play the music. How was I supposed to know? Yeah, so I think it's really important for Liu Kang and Kung Lao, especially Kung Lao, to sort of shatter that vision of like they probably have this romanticized view of like becoming the hero. And I think Bo shatters that in a big way. You could probably write a whole story just about the training arc of Liu Kang and Kung Lao with Bo Raicho. Because I think that humbling experience of finding out that the guy who's going to make you the best man you can be is literally farting in your face. And I think like that kind of levels the story in a very important way. I think those characters become vastly better when their master is someone like Bo Raicho and is not the cliche and is not sort of like feeding into that false romanticized view of like the hero's journey, right? I think those characters just get so elevated from that. But I mean, It sounds like
mean,
the majority is B.
Everything you're saying is a valid point. I'm totally with you. It's just that I don't love Bo. I like Bo.
Yeah, yeah,
Fair, yeah.
That's a B.
yeah. I'm with you. I like Bo. I don't love him. Love him's like an A, and S is just like the cream of the crop, basically. Like,
Yeah.
So yeah, unless anybody else feels like they're changed, they're swayed, I think B is a good place for him.
B's not bad. Like even C is not bad. Like I said earlier.
C is a passing grade.
All right, let's move on to Cassie Cage, Razor.
Fucking C. I want to like the character, but there's something holding them back, like I said. In her case, I don't know. Her moves are super fucking derivative of Johnny and Stryker. Her story relies a little too much on trying to get Sonya's approval in an era where Sonya wasn't a terribly likable character. I don't know. I just think it's not some of the combat kids are what I would call bad characters. Cassie's not a bad character. She just needs to be worked with a little differently, a little polish.
Right. Okay. So we got her at a C. That's understandable. Shad?
She is absolutely also the epitome of a C for me. I pretty much agree with what Razor just said. She's a little bit too. You see, the kids these days they listen to the damn
man.
Fordin with
The kids
hippin' and
these
the
days
hoppin'.
bits the chewing gum and the constant selfies.
It's the Steve Buscemi with the backwards hat on thing that just turns me off a little bit. It's not just because I'm old. It feels a little like trite. That's all I'm saying.
Look,
It's not a problem I have with either of the other with any of the other.
they
three.
take
It's just
selfies is not a personality. That's not a character.
It's what old people think is a personality. What old people think young people think is a personality. Yeah?
It's as the kids say, it's fucking cringe.
Brah.
All right. So where did you place her? I might have missed it.
C.
C. So double C so far. Temp?
So my reasoning's a little unique here. I put her in B, for two reasons. One reason just being I like her gameplay, and I thought they fixed a lot of things about her from X to 11. She's actually one of my favorite characters to play in 11. It's a shame about all the Mass Effect gear, but everything else generally I like about her. When you, assuming you're not adding any of the dumb customs, right? If you're using like the Johnny Cage stuff, I think she's really cool. But another reason why I put her a bit higher than everyone else is because I'm kind of done with Sonya, and Cassie kind of fills that role. She fills that role kind of permanently for me now. I don't really think there's any saving Sonya. So Cassie is that role, that function for me now.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I don't want to go. This is such a like. This is something we can talk about for an hour, but like with Sonya out of the picture, I think Cassie is like we're good now. We've kind of reached equilibrium.
Sonya's not going out of the picture. We're going to time periods where Cassie's out of the picture.
Oh no, I
Sonya's
know,
younger, man.
We're talking about like in an ideal situation though, right? Like I know MK12 is probably going to be a soft reboot, but like I mean, for up to me, like there'd be so many characters coming back, like because I mean. If I were to say this character was like a perfect substitute for Kano, obviously Kano's coming back, but that doesn't change how I feel, right? So Cassie is what I wanted Sonya to be. So I'm going to give her a B.
Okay. Got it. It's 2 C's and a B. I have Cassie at a B as well. So we're at a
Oh, really? Interesting.
we're at a 2 and 2 here. Yeah, I thought so. My reasoning is I mean, out of all the combat kids, she's my favorite. I know a lot of people go towards Takeda, and I completely understand that. I can't even argue that. But just for my personal taste, I thought she was done really well. The personalities between Johnny Cage and Sonya and like managing what does that kid look like, I really dug. And I thought her gameplay in 11 and X I thought was pretty solid. And yeah, just her quips and everything, I thought she was an interesting character. She's not my favorite by any means, but do I like her? Yeah. do so I would put her a little bit higher than just middle of the road. Don't like her, don't dislike her. She's there. I'd give her just the slightest edge. So it's a soft B, but it's a B nonetheless. So I don't know how we remedy that. Anybody want to go? Who's willing to bend to the other way? What do we think is better for the overall ranking here?
I mean, personally, I wouldn't hate her. Like, I get why everyone's putting her in C. Like, there are characters I'd be willing to defend. Bo Right Cho is a great example of that.
Sure.
But I mean, Cassie, if people don't like Cassie, I'm fine with that. I don't need to like preach on the streets how great Cassie Cage is. But like, I like her. I think she's cool. There are characters though I'd be like, no, this character needs to be higher. She's just not one.
Yeah, it isn't even that I dislike her. It's like she's interesting, but she's flawed. That's it. I like the character.
Yeah,
She could be better.
I mean, I would be willing to see her as a B-.
Okay. It sounds like we're all we're all willing to bend. So
if someone was crazy enough to put like Smoke in C tier, I'd be like, hold on, Cyborg, stop the recording 1 second. Like then I'd be like, yeah, that would be an issue. Then we're going to have a discussion. But Cassie's just not that character.
All right, be ready for the pause when we get to Smoke.
That's what we'll cut the episode.
Fucking Knives Out.
Yeah, I almost hope someone does at this point, but yeah.
Yeah, so okay, well, shoot. I mean, it sounds like everybody's willing to go to the other side if need be. I think, let's put her at B. I think she deserves it.
That's fine.
It's a soft B. I was willing to go to C as well, but yeah, I think giving her just the slightest little edge is fine. When this fleshes out, and that's the thing is when this all fleshes out, we might want to move her just based on how everything shakes out. We can always do a follow up once it's all there, not like a follow up episode, but just kind of refine tune things if we feel necessary.
I do like that system though. So there's 4 of us, right? So if we have let's say we have 2 Bs and 2 As, I do believe we should round up. I think that's a better way to go anyway.
Yeah, it's more kind to the character and their fans, that's for sure.
What you're telling me is that we're sneaking the kid in even though we know the ID's fake. That's what we're doing.
Yes.
That's one way to put it, yeah.
Yeah. Nobody has to know.
I mean,
she can buy alcohol. I'll allow it.
Cassie literally has a history of getting into clubs with a fake ID. So.
All right. That brings us to Cetrion, and I think it's me. So Cetrion I have in the F tier. It's our first F. And that's just, it's not even that I hate her design. Like I was going back between D and F. And F is like, I treat the F as characters that I would be happy to never see again. D are the characters that I don't necessarily want to see again, but like there's potential, there's maybe something salvageable there. I don't necessarily know that that's the case with Cetrion. I feel like as much as I like her, like, I shouldn't even say as much as I like her design is what I was going to say, because I don't necessarily like her design. I like the idea of her design. I like the idea of a Poison Ivy type, Earth Elemental, the Mother Nature type. I like that. And some of her concept art, like with the mask and everything, looked really cool. And I wish they would have explored more of like that foresty, kind of Zelda-like character almost, where she's like an elf in the forest and she wears this cool mask and she's very thin, like, and has, the earth elements all over her. Like she's kind of like touching upon that, but yeah, just, I mean, from her representation in MK11's story was super underwhelming. It was so weird that she's just so hell-bent on like defending Kronika and even giving her life to support her was just silly to me. And yeah, she just didn't fit the idea of what an elder god should be, in my opinion. So yeah, F. I wouldn't care if we never saw her again. And that's crazy to me, because usually most characters I fit in the everybody deserves a second chance territory. But yeah, she just meh. Temp?
So I was in the same predicament. I was wavering between F and D. I ultimately landed on D just because I would be okay with seeing this character as a non-canon DLC. Her gameplay wasn't great, but it wasn't the worst in MK11. And I think her design's okay. I put a lot of stock in design. So again, it's
Yeah.
not great. It's not going to win any awards, but I think she looks all right.
Her Shinnok outfit was kind of cool.
I think I don't recommend this, but
Or NetherRealm.
unlike Chronica, like I don't ever want to see Chronica again. But with Cetrion, if you were willing to like reinvent the character story, or I preferably make her non-canon, just make her non-canon DLC, if anything. But I don't know. I got to be fair. I can't pretend like I just hate everything about the character,
Right.
even if her story is, because I don't disagree with all the haters. I think her story is offensive to the very core. But from a gameplay design perspective, it's a D. But ultimately I just don't feel that strongly. So this is another character I'm not going to be arguing for. If she goes into F, fuck her.
That is the F tier. That's what it stands for. Fuck them.
Yeah.
All right. Chad.
She single-handedly infantilized the whole concept of elder gods. Press F in the chat, boys. We're done here. I got 2 characters in my F tier. 2. You already know who the other one is. I'd be quite happy to never see her again. Just pretend she never existed. She was kind of fun to use in gameplay, I guess, but there was just so much better out there. Looking at her gives me a migraine. Next.
All right. So we got 2 Fs
Hard
and
F.
a D. 3 Fs and a D. F it is. Temp's not going to argue for it.
I want to say, so I do hate every single thing about her. Looks, gameplay, breaks the fucking lore. When Tip was like defending her gameplay, I was thinking I actually was offended by the fact that she was so frequently seen in tournaments. That really bothered me. It made me not want to watch MK11 tournaments because everybody was playing Cetrion or Jackie, and it was fucking boring to watch.
Yeah.
And so I do agree with what you were saying, Cyborg, about her concept art. The idea of like a forest nymph or a dryad,
Yeah,
like a nature
exactly.
spirity looking goddess, would be super rad. But Cetrion is not that character, and
Right.
to make her that character, you would have to rework so much about her, you might as well just make a new one.
Yeah, I agree. Because, I mean, if, let's say we get like a reboot in Elseworlds, and this time she's not an Elder God, she is a forest nymph or whatever, like, okay.
Like, I don't even
but
like
that
the
could be its
sound
own
of
character.
her name, though.
Cetrion.
Like, it sounds like medicine. It doesn't...
I'm
If you
picturing
were
like
to
a
introduce,
legal firm.
the Edenian goddess of plants or something like that, I would not want that character to be named Cetrion because it sounds wrong.
Yeah,
Which
it
I
does
don't-
like have a vibe of extra strength Cetrion.
Yeah.
Bitch, I don't
it's
even
either
like
that-
anything about you. I don't even like your name.
It's either that, or it's like a legal firm, or it's a securities company. Cetrion. You're safe
way
with
you-
us.
The way your name sound like medicine. All right. Yeah, so that's a strong F. If
Cetrion.
everybody else was
Say
D and I
milligrams.
was the only F, I was definitely willing
Fucking
to like
delete this
come to
character
that, but-
now.
All
Cetrion
right.
is to be taken rectally with the supervision of a doctor.
I feel like we did that already. MK11.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's where they stuck it.
All right, moving on to Chameleon, male Chameleon with a C. Razor.
I gave him a D. I think you could do something cool with Chameleon, but they haven't yet, therefore... Bleh.
I like it. We're having fun here. we like to have a good time.
Yeah, this is good times.
All right, so we got Chameleon and a D, and Shad.
He is also a D for me. I mean, there's nothing there. It's like the old Native American phrase for Canada, "Sa nada." There's nothing there. That's what it means. It's not really what it means. I mean, just sure, we know that he's like Shao Kahn's top secret enforcer slash bodyguard, but that's literally all we know. And like the joke is he was everywhere, but there's nothing there. Literally, figuratively, actually make him into something. I'm open to it, but just based on what's there, it's a hard D.
Love a hard D. All right,
That's what
Temp.
she
There's gonna be
said.
so many hard Ds tonight.
Um,
You're gonna rank him high. Just do it.
Bring it on.
Here it comes.
Yeah, he's a B. I like his gameplay design, and I think there's a lot of story potential.
You're a sexual deviant.
Eh.
I love it. All right.
Okay, you know what? You got to give him this. When you play as him in Armageddon, he has a shit ton of like high string combos. I think you can get something like upwards of 20 hits. I was watching a ketchup and mustard video. He looks like if you put enough resources and like committed to the character, he could be a lot of fun to play. But
Committed
that's
with a
Armageddon,
C.
and that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
It counts though. I've watched the ketchup and mustard sets as well. Chameleon's really interested in that game, so yeah. I mean, again, this is kind of like Cassie. I'm not gonna like sit here and try to sell you guys, but I like him.
And I give him this, something else that the female chameleon doesn't really have, or it's harder to have with her because she changes so damn often. When you're playing him in Trilogy, and like you do something like a pop-up and like you change characters mid-combo, and you can keep it going with a different set of special moves, although it's pretty rare, it can happen. You feel like a god. It's fun. But there's just not enough there. That's all.
I'll make this easy because this is where I had him anyways. I had him at a C, so that would take us, I think, averaging out to a C. Between a B, 2 Ds, and a C. C seems fair. And my reasoning for that was I like his design. I think it's cool to have like this, partial or mostly see-through ninja. Plus, it's a ninja. I can only rank them so low. I like ninjas. The more ninjas, the better. I agree with the D tiers that he just doesn't really amount to much. Like, story-wise, he's just there, but not. So it's weird. He's not really a character, but he is, but he's not. So, I mean, I totally get kind of where both sides are coming from. And I think that's ultimately why, like, on my own, I kind of decided C is I just see both sides of that where I think there's cool gameplay elements there. I liked how he was done in Armageddon. I think he could be fun if they actually made him into something or, gave him any sort of real presence. Maybe as like a DLC character, he could be him or, Chameleon with a K could be the next like actual character turned into something that's not really currently much of a character. So, but yeah.
I also factor in like new gen technology in my decision. I think on PS5, Chameleon could look really sick. I think you can make that character look astoundingly good.
Yeah, I mean, he looked good in Armageddon. I just imagine today, like, it would be super cool. So I agree.
There was something especially really visually appealing about both of the chameleons in Armageddon. They kind of nailed that. They really did.
Yeah,
The way that they just kind of shift in and out of view in some points.
different colors going on as you do the different moves. It's very cool.
They're a treat to the eyes.
All right, so C. Then we have Cyrax. And it looks like I'm starting this one off. I have Cyrax as an A. Obviously, he's my favorite character, and it's weird not to put him in the S tier, but I'm being like realistic with the actual character. I'm not just putting my own spin on like how much I love him. There's more. I'm trying to keep it grounded on what I really think of him, and just because he's remained my favorite, it's not because the way he's been handled over the years has been kind by any means. It's more. I love the idea of him and what he has been at some points. So for me, he's a strong A, and I think he's grossly underutilized and is so overdue for any sort of story relevance and a solid design. They teased us in 11 with, some he just came off so cool in 11, even if I didn't really love the design they had for him, but just they keep teasing us with him. And, he wasn't an X at all. He was one of the surviving members in MK9, one of the humans that survived and never went anywhere, which I've complained about over the years. So I won't go into detail again. But yeah, for me, A. Temp.
Yeah, I too have him in an A tier. Not much to say, just a very good character, really good design. I love the story. I like how he's networked into the games he's in. Maybe lesser so on Deadly Alliance, but yeah, he's always been fun to play. Even in Deadly Alliance, when the character barely worked, he was still fun. So yeah,
One of the
just
coolest
nothing but
fatalities
good
in that
things.
game, in my opinion. Love the trash compactor thing, or whatever you call it, the grinder, the garbage disposal, whatever. That was
In
cool.
comparison to other Deadly Alliance fatalities, yes.
Yeah, it was cool. All right, Shad.
So he's also up there in A for me. Somehow I don't think this surprises anyone. Yes, no.
No, yeah. So far, AAA.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if Razor didn't do A as well. He might be our first full-on agreement across the board.
Like my A list characters are comprised pretty much. It's 95% trilogy folks, but these are folks that I cannot picture future MK games doing without. These are staples. These are people that I never ever want to go away forever. You know, you'd be
Yeah.
hard pressed to give me a game where I'm like, I'm tired of this character or that character. Take a
Yeah.
step back. No, Cyrax is always fun. I mean, I haven't. A lot of us haven't cared for how he's looked since the 3D era, but that that doesn't mean we don't want it back. Doesn't mean I don't want them to keep trying. The only quibble I have with Cyrax's appearance in 9 is that, you'd think that after like the 3D era gave us the greatest gag in that he's seen Johnny Cage's movies and wants to beat the money out of his skull. We didn't fucking touch on that. They need to reference that. I need that in some fight dialogue. I am waiting for it. That's the secret biggest sin of Cyrax not being part of the main roster in 11. We could have had that dialogue and it would have been great. Classic characters, some wacky fatalities, some great fatalities, full-on arsenal, great human design in
Yeah.
MK9. I look forward to having him back. I miss the guy.
Absolutely. Razor?
Yeah, all A's.
Our first full-on agreement. That's pretty cool.
I've always liked all the cybers. S tier are my actual favorites.
Sure.
A's are the ones. They're not my favorites, but I love them. And Cyrax is definitely on there.
Yeah, I kind of weighted it like I mean I could have gone S for Cyrax just because he is, my favorite, but I don't know, man. He's just been used and abused. Not used
Yeah.
enough, honestly. So I gotta be like if he had just one amazing showing, like in a modern game, I would be all in by going higher. But for me, we all have our own criteria. So this is not like this is just me saying what
Yeah.
I did. For me, my S tier was like the characters that I feel like ascend above all others. So
Yeah,
I was kind of picky about them.
things just haven't been great for him the past couple games.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really neat to see his human self in 9. I've always personally preferred him with the special forces and getting his humanity back a little bit and being that like halfway point where, RoboCop with the helmet off and that kind of look.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a shame that like at one point Cyrax was the face of the cybers. Like he was in Gold and Sector was a hidden character. He was in Deadly Alliance and Sector wasn't. And
Annihilation.
You could have
Yeah,
even
he was-
said at one point that he was like almost the favorite of NetherRealm like studios in terms of the cyborgs.
it
It
seemed
felt
that
like
way
that
at one
way.
point in time, yes.
But now Ed Boon's saying on Twitter wacky things like Triborg's his favorite. So who knows what's going on over there?
I I hope. I mean, if he really means that, we are way out of sync.
Yeah, that's rough.
We're on different planets.
Okay.
I don't know who these games are for anymore. If the guy making them
I
thinks
feel
Triborg
cold.
is the best cyber ninja.
I feel cold. All right, Razor, why don't you take us on with Dagon?
All right. I actually have Dagon as a C, which I'm certain is the highest he will get out of all the four of us because he's not really much of anything as a character, but I love that his face looks like Ron Perlman, and his voice sounds like Clancy Brown's Lex Luthor, and he's clear. So I give him points for being the best of the Red Dragon, because the Red Dragon is the better gang between the Reds and the Blacks. The Black Dragon gang fucking sucks and is propped up entirely by having Kano in it. The Red Dragons is a cool gang with shitty playable members. It's the opposite problem to what the Black Dragons have. So the fact that I like the Red Dragon, their the clan, the way they work and the way their minions dress in those like fucking tech gimp suits. I love those guys, and Dagon is in charge of them, so I give him some of those points.
That makes sense. All right, Shad.
He is, for me as well, a C. I wish he had more of a identity of his own vis-a-vis his moveset, but the fact that he's like the originator of the cooler Dragon Clan, like Razor was saying, gives him so many cool points. He's really enjoyable. He stood out from like his only real appearance. The face, like the voice, the casting. I feel like they nailed the concept pretty well. I don't know, 75%, 80% of the way there. I definitely want him back at some point. I feel like there's a ton of things that you could actually have the Red Dragon do. They're almost more like ninjas than they are your typical like Black Dragon guns. That's what makes them cooler.
They're like you could use them for whenever you want to have like assassins hired in a story, and you don't just want to use like the Lin Kuei or the Shirai Ryu, where you want like a more maybe Western or modern like America flavor of like modern day mercenaries instead of like ancient old world like masked martial artists. Like the Red Dragons would have like guys with sniper rifles and that kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
They're like
sniper rifles who can also do kung fu.
Fucking Agent 47 would be a Red Dragon.
Yep. No, just make him. I'm sure that there are ways to get him involved in other plot lines. I don't think he needs to be tied to Armageddon. I would like to see this guy operate completely independently of Blazoned. We know he was active for thousands of years. Not that the old continuity means much of anything these days, but there's plenty of room to tell plenty of interesting stories that have him in it. Doesn't even need his brother.
Yeah, Taven can be asleep in a rock, and Dagon's doing stuff for hundreds of thousands of years.
So just only reason he's a C and not higher is because he only ever really had the one game, and there's only so much there's only so many points I can give if you've shown up once, and you could be a bit better. That's it. He's a solid C.
All right, Temp.
I also have him in C. I don't dislike this character. Yeah, I know it's strange, right? I can't believe we all put this character from Armageddon in C.
For sure, everybody else would have him as a D.
Oh, you were serious. No, I just think the problem with this character is there's not enough information. I need more data. I think there's something cool here. We just did not get nearly enough. And like I said, everyone in my C category either has unrealized potential that was never properly realized or some very severe flaw. And I just think like he could be cool, but I think a lack of significant character connections really hurts this character. I think one reason why Noob Saibot is such a heavyweight in the lore is that he is connected to so many big characters in an interesting way. And that's not this, right? So yeah, I think he could be really cool, but he just isn't yet. I give him a C.
All right, I gave him an F, so we'll just agree on a C. It's fine. Nobody has to talk about it.
Okay.
What didn't work for you, Cyborg? What wasn't
you
working
see,
for you?
I was waffling between a D and an F. I mean, if I was being more fair, I would just give him a D. The only reason I was placing him in the F is purely because, I don't know, by Armageddon, I was so like, I mean, through the 3D. So, some backstory here. When we first started this podcast, I was probably much more harsh on the 3D era maybe the most harsh out of any of us, except for maybe Django. Django hates those motherfuckers. No, shout outs to Django. Hope you're doing well, buddy. But no, I think over the years I've grown to appreciate a lot of them more. But he's still, to me, like, I can't think of a single Dagon move. Granted, I haven't played Armageddon since maybe a year after it came out, or months we're talking about. I have not gone back to Armageddon at all. I look forward to when we get to that in the replaying all the games, just because it has been so long. But I can't remember shit about this character other than what you guys have told me over the years. Like, it just, nothing has stuck with me. I felt like these characters and some of the ones in Deception were just the most milquetoast characters to me. They were super bland. Nothing stuck with me over the years. Like some of the other characters, like a Draman, right? Draman, I know Draman. I know, so I could tell you several of his moves off the top of my head. I know his design off the top of my head. I know what he does, what he's about. Whereas Dagon, I don't know. I know he's Red Dragon, but like, and he's Taven's brother, the evil side and whatnot. But like, I don't know shit else about this character. I couldn't draw him from memory. He's just always escapes me. He just comes across as super bland. But like I said, I was between a D and an F. D would be more fair, but I was just like, fuck it.
There is actually like a kind of unique gimmick with Dagon's special moves. I mean, the thing is that Dagon, you like unlock him by playing Conquest mode. I don't know who would ever have played Dagon, because there's 64 characters in that game, and you get him last,
Right.
and like, he doesn't. I understand he doesn't look appealing. He looks boring, but if you did actually ever touch his moves, he does have a thematic moveset, weirdly enough. Like, it has more personality than Taven's does, because what Dagon does is, before each of his special moves, he'll do a feint. So, like, you think he's gonna throw a high fireball, and he'll, like, slide backwards to avoid you coming in on him, and then do a low fireball instead.
Interesting.
So, like, all of his moves have a built-in, like, slide out of the way and get you, like, if it were MKX, he'd be the master of the mix-up.
Right. Okay.
But it was Armageddon, so it didn't actually matter. It was all just for show.
Well, like I said, you guys are all 3 at a C. I knew I was being a little extra harsh with the F, so I'm more than willing to come up to you guys rather than trying to fight over meeting in the middle. We can go C. That's fine. I don't feel like it's not a strong feeling regardless. It's just kind of, I wouldn't be against him coming back if they turn him into something interesting and whatnot. Cool. Like, flesh out the Red Dragon makes sense. They've been talking up this Kenshi versus the Red Dragon feud for years, and it's never materialized into anything. So I mean, I could totally see it. But yeah. So we'll settle on a C. Next up is Dairu. Fuck him. Just fuck him. I'm sorry. This guy, fucking. He's, when I think of the most bland of the bland for me when it comes to the 3D era, this guy is the poster child for bland. This was where I really started to lose interest in the new characters. When it came, like, when we got to MKX, like MK9, I was so thankful to not have new characters outside of Scarlet, because I just lost faith in them between Deception and Armageddon. And especially back then, like I said, I was much more harsh and not as, loving towards a lot of the 3D era folk like I've warmed up to at this point. And he is a prime example of just this guy does. I know he has the Tombstone drop, which was annoying as fucking Deception and is known as one of the most broken moves in the entire series. And I actually did like one of his moves now that I think about it. I like the one where you switch sides with your opponent or switch places with your opponent. And you could try and set it up to knock him out, get a ring out or knock him down, stage transition or whatever. I'd always try and set that up. But in terms of just like design, what he represents, he just does nothing for me. This was when I really lost interest in new characters, and that didn't really come back until MKX with some of the new ones they introduced. I started being like, okay, we can have some unique designs again. So that's kind of the effect that Dairu has left with me. Temp?
Easy F. It's worth noting that F does not mean I never want to see the character again. F just means I really, really don't like this character, or they are extremely boring. I can see this character coming back, and I can see him being cool. But right now, there is not a single thing I like about this character. I do not like his design. I do not like any of his relationships in the story. I don't like his endings. I don't like his lore. And yet, he's one of the best characters in Armageddon. Um, so yes, literally one of my least favorite characters. He is so unbelievably boring. I still think I'd be open-minded to him coming back, especially given that the 3D era is so underrepresented. I'll take almost anything. But yeah, he's an F. He's definitely an F.
And to be fair, when I say like F for me is I wouldn't care if we ever saw him again. I do, and I mentioned this before. I do believe everybody deserves a second chance. Thankfully, he got his in Armageddon, so fuck him. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, like, I wouldn't hate him coming back. It's just I would question why they brought him back over a lot of other characters that still need it. So maybe like MK13 rolls around, they want to trot him out and fix his design and make him interesting. Sure, but I think MK12, there's too many spots that I would rather go to other characters, even other characters that are hated amongst the community or looked at as bland and boring. I think there's other characters in that same category that he's filling that I would rather see get that second chance before he does. So that's kind of where he is. But I'm not against a second chance for him, just to be clear.
I think a really good design and a really good actor would help this character a lot. A good voice actor would go a long. Well, we'll continue because I don't want to go too deep into that. But yeah.
All right, Shad, we got 2 Fs. Where are you at?
Wow, I'm the generous one. He gets a D. No one's surprised. I mean, when the best thing about you is like your abandoned concept art from the prior game, you're not on good footing. Like, I really liked that MKD concept art. This like vision of a kind of Ronin samurai type person with 2 swords, and I like the MKDA Dairu concept art has like 6 different head sketches, and they're all immeasurably better than what we actually got. There's one where he's got the same haircut and it somehow looks better. Just everything about the guy just didn't come through in design. He's got like the worst, silliest moveset ever. Kicks triangular shuriken fireballs. The tombstone drop is annoying, broken, and stupid. I'm trying to think of good times I had with Dairu, and all I can come up with is... Remember that time you let Shujinko out of a cage? Good times. I wanted him to be more, you know? I really did. Like, I always felt that MK needed a bounty hunter kind of character. And that's what Dairu seemed to be about, like the mercenary bounty hunter figure. And I was hoping one day he'd get another shot and another chance, and... Now we have Aaron Black, who's, kind of a little bit tainted by being with the Black Dragon and loses cool points just by connection, but... basically kind of fills the same kind of role, like the rogue outlaw, works for the right price. I don't know what you do with Dairu now. And I don't really care anymore. I'd like to, but I just kind of don't. The most I can say about those 5 or 6 animation frames that he was in Battle of the Realms for is, hey, look at that. Maybe he's a Black Dragon now. I don't care. He's a D. My F tier is reserved for contempt. I don't hate him. I just don't care.
Sure, makes sense. All right, Razor.
Yeah, so as I said before, my F tier is specifically for characters I never want to see again. And the thing is, there was no such thing as a character I never want to see again before MK11. I am a strong believer in the idea that you can fix anything. If MK9 could fix Stryker, because Stryker was fucking terrible, then you can fix anybody. And there is obviously, if you're a longtime listener of the channel, you know that I have said many times that before 11, Dairu was my most disliked character on the entire roster. He was absolute number 0. So, I'm giving him a D because he's not an 11 character. He doesn't go in the F tier. I do believe he can be fixed. I think there's some potential there. Like Shad said, there was something to him in that Deadly Alliance concept art. I think there's things you could do with exploring the world of Sado and the idea of a former guardsman who feels like the law and justice didn't, do what it was supposed to do for him, and now he has to go outside of it. And, it's not there in Deception. What you have in Deception is an ugly character. They tried to make a guy who's like a reference to Gordon Liu and Jet Li, and it didn't come out particularly aesthetically pleasing for anybody. But you could fix it, but it's not fixed yet. And if you want to see how I would fix it, we have a video about that. There's the patron cast is on Dairu is actually my favorite of our patron cast. It's the one that we put the most effort and energy into, and I'm really happy with the way that one turned out. So I would recommend to listeners to check that out. But that's a fan fiction character. My Dairu is not the Dairu we're ranking right now.
Right.
The Dairu we're ranking right now gets a D.
It's super strange considering like the inspirations behind the character. That what came out at the end of the other end of the tunnel is basically Michael Ironside. So yeah, I don't.
You know what?
Yeah, his face
really
has this weird baby-like quality.
You know what's really sad? There was like the seeds of something interesting there lore-wise, where like they were basically implying that Darius was behind like the murder of his family.
Yeah,
And that's why he dropped out of the Satan Guardsmen. And they were setting them up as like, soon to be mortal enemies. But nothing in Deception ever like solidified that. Nothing in Conquest
Well,
mode
here's
ever
what I've
touched on
always
it.
here's what I've always found interesting is that if you replace death and hell with jail, Dairu and Darius are Scorpion and Quan Chi. It's the exact same story over again.
You've done
All
my
right.
bidding well, Dairu, but now you must go back to your cell.
So we've got
No!
2 Ds and 2 Fs. Where are we at? Temp? You're the other F.
I know you guys said that F doesn't mean never see again for you, but I don't think that.
If I were to define F tier, it means they had to do to get D. You have to do something right. I don't think there's a single good thing about Dairu at the moment, so that's why I put him in F. But I'm okay with him being in D. I think the case for D is solid. Like I said, I like to round up. I don't like to round down if we can help it.
Yeah, I'm with you. He doesn't have a single redeemable quality, so that's kind of where I'm at with the put him with the worst of the worst. But I'm fine
To
with
me,
going
D is
up as well.
passing, right? So I don't think Dairu passes, but yeah, I think D is
a D is a failing grade in college, but a passing grade in high school.
not a UTSA. At UTSA, you can get a D in some classes. So yeah, I have 1D. I'm so pissed about it on my GPA, but
I don't object to giving him a pity D.
damn it!
You heard me.
That's what she said.
I'm pissed that I laughed at that.
All right. Let's go to we'll settle on D. Darius. Pity D for sure. Darius, Razor.
A lot of the same things I just said about Dairu. Darius was, if Dairu is number 0, the worst guy on the roster, then the next guy up is Darius.
0.1.
Yeah.
He doesn't even get a full number up.
I wish so badly that Deception had like good voice acting with like any kind of effort, because the idea of Darius, that he's like this, this slick underground resistance guy based on like Wesley Snipes and Lawrence Fishburne, like he should be like, the way he should talk should be just, cool, and not just bland Deception NPC like they all talk. It's just fucking robot.
Right.
But yeah, it's a shame what we got. Could have been better. We have a video about that one too.
All right, so I take it a D.
Yeah,
Shad?
he's a D. He's a D.
You know how you just like put him a smidgen above Dairu?
Mm-hmm.
It's the opposite for me, man. Dairu is a smidgen above Darius for me. Darius is like my all-time favorite, least interested in, don't give a shit about character of the entire original run. Because I maintain that like all press is good press. And at least Dairu had people bitching about that tombstone drop worthy of conversation going for him. I don't see anyone talking about Darius really. He's the character so just kind of there in the
Yeah, but having a
sidelines.
tombstone drop is cheating the same way Cetrion being on all the tournaments is cheating. The character doesn't deserve it.
It's still publicity, but like
Mm.
Darius isn't even in the fucking main game storyline, man. He's not there.
That's true.
Scott-
Darius is an NPC that they made playable.
He's got like no original. He's got a cool pair of gauntlets, but no original moves. He's got like that stack 'em up body parts fatality that looks like something. It might be something that Havoc should maybe have instead.
Didn't Goro
Just-
take his gauntlets and then just have 2 more?
Pretty well.
in Deception, I thought.
They're all ripping off Baraka. None of them should have it.
Just such a non-character, man. It's still a D. Only not an F because I don't actively hate him. Again, I just don't care. Would I be
Alright.
opposed to seeing him come back?
I mean,
No,
that's
but you'd have
fair.
to do a lot of work.
I just think giving Dairu a point for the tombstone drop is bullshit. That's all.
We got double D's. All right, Darius, temp.
Yeah, D. He's yeah, he looks slightly cool. I don't hate the design, and that's what keeps him out of F. And that's
So-
literally all I had to say about him.
Yeah. So I have a question. Just jog my memory before I rank him. He took Cyrax's spinny kick, right?
He
He
did
did.
have the
Fuck
the
him!
fucking
I say
ballet
fuck
kick.
him! Fuck this motherfucker! Fuck him!
You really liked that kick on Cyrax?
No, but it's still, I'm gonna be protective of it. I don't have to
Alright.
like it to protect it.
Cyrax is sensitive, guys.
I think
Look
you
at
should
this
let
guy.
Darius
Why do you
have it.
think
I
he kills himself
Cyrax
all
is
the
better
fucking
without
time?
it.
It was such a silly little like ballerina pirouetting
Yeah,
quasi
yeah,
Atsu move, you know?
It's a fucking ice skater triple Lutz or whatever.
Before there was Sawblade, there was. Oh, wait, no, he did have. Did he have the Sawblade in Deception or
Cyrax
Deadly
had
Alliance?
the saw blade in Deadly Alliance.
Okay,
That's the
so
first
not
time.
before there was. It was at the
The
same
only
time.
Only thing I remember Darius having was like maybe a charge punch move where he hit you a couple more times. Was that it? Was that it?
No, that you're thinking of Taven. Darius did have a charge punch, but it only hits you once, and Cobra has it too.
Oh,
It's the same one.
That's a shame.
Yeah, Cyrax has feelings. Remember when he's reading the book in the Deadly Alliance crypt? Feelings. I have that as my
Yeah, it's a
Discord.
book of
I
poetry.
saw.
I have
saw
that as my
it's better
profile
now.
Discord banner. Yeah, I love that picture so much. All right, let's go up to a D. It's fine. Fuck him though. All right, so next up is Drawman, and for me, Drawman is a solid C. He was one of my favorites in Deadly Alliance. I really liked his design. I mean, I'm a sucker for the Oni mask. I'll just say it. Like, I could give 2 shits about the rest of his design. You'd have that awesome mask on. I'm gonna love it. And I mean, honestly, his alternate attire is kind of cool too. But yeah, it's just a shame that he's never come back, and he seemingly is on the low end of characters that we'll ever see again, if any, because Ed Boon already has gone on Twitter saying, as a playable fighter, it's unlikely that we'll ever see him again. And if it's all because of the damn club on his arm, who gives a fuck? Just remove it and do something else with him. He doesn't need. That's not essential to his character, is it? Like,
Why don't
just
they just
take it
learn
off.
how to program in 3 dimensions properly?
He's a torturer. There's plenty of places you could go with that. He can
I
be
don't
carrying around all
understand
sorts
why
of
a character's
implements.
left hand and right hand should switch when they're facing the other way in a 3D game.
But yeah, I mean, regardless of all of that, just take the club off and just fucking have him have a hook or some. Well, I guess that wouldn't help either. But just do whatever you got to do. He's more than just the freaking club. It's not like that's the most important part of this character. So just ditch the club. Who gives a shit? And
Yeah, I
then
mean
bring him
the
back.
Hellboy's hand being on a specific side is like important lore in the comics, but in the video game when they put him in Injustice, they didn't bother doing the Drummond thing. It switches when you're facing the other way, and nobody was bothered by it. It's fine. Nobody
Yeah.
cares.
I mean, that's happened in other MK games, like with Sub-Zero's Scar and stuff. So it doesn't matter that
Yeah,
much. Really.
Kano's eye will fucking flip in the arcade era.
But yeah, C for sure. I don't really care for like the flies and stuff. There's a lot of other cool things you could do, but yeah, I just the actual character himself. I think it's partially based on. I think there's still untapped potential that could easily be brought up, but also just his design in general. I think is really cool, and the story. But that's me, Temp.
Yeah, C for me. If you put some clothes on his primary and Deadly Alliance, I don't think there's anything wrong with that design. The club is awkward, but I'm over it. Yeah, I think his story is perfectly fine. I think not everyone needs to be important. He did what he needed to do. He's fine. I give him a C.
All right, double C's, Shad.
Some characters are meant to be grunts, and that's fine. Drummond's fun because he has this really interesting and like in-depth backstory where he fucked up and got sent to the NetherRealm and was tormented over like how many aeons, 500 years I think it was.
Yeah,
But
500.
nothing, like, it's interesting background information, but it's not necessary. What's necessary is like he's this fucking monster torturer from hell that eats people, and yeah, the club's a shame, but you don't need that. You could have him do any number of things. You could have him take off the mask so he goes all full fucking rage mode. Like him and Moloch are a duo that should be together, and I've said this in the past. Like if you're gonna bring Tag back, there is no excuse not to have them there as a duo. Sure, they're not much apart, but they're still fun, fascinating designs on their own, and together they could be a really, really great presence.
The mask part is tough. Honestly, I would never want to take off the mask, but that's me. Because that's my favorite part about him. That's the coolest, visually the coolest part about him, in my opinion.
Visually, yeah, but I could see him like taking it off for like close range throws where like he just starts biting into your neck or your face or
Yeah, I
some
mean
shit.
you could do an off and back on thing like Reptile Spit.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. Like I'm not like advocating like a maskless like martial arts style because the mask is so very much him. I'm
I
saying
would
you
say,
can play with it.
yeah, you could. I think right now without the mask, he looks very very generic. So you would have to make him a little bit more interesting without the mask if we go that route. But okay, yeah, I'm open minded to it.
I want to see him and Moloch back one day. I don't even need all the lore. I don't need like the owl landing on like the ground and bringing up the ball. That'd be really really great for it like a battle intro. We all know that.
Yeah.
I just want to see them coming back and wrecking shit and being entertaining. Even if it's just like seeing them as NPCs in fucking the Netherrealm at some point talking about eating mortals. There's something inherently fun about both of them. You know? They could be MK's Beavis and Butthead or like really scary. There's a lot of places you could take them. And I miss them. And Ed, you are wrong to dislike this character as much as you do. Hey, I'll say it. Bring him back. Love him.
So what letter did you have?
Oh, he's a C. If I
C.
didn't say that.
Triple C's so far.
I have him as a B. So his moves are the absolute worst. The actual worst. But his aesthetic is sick as fuck. He is the best looking new character in Deadly Alliance by a long shot. And Ed has said in the past that he doesn't think Drummond looks like a Mortal Kombat character, and that was the moment in which I started to believe Ed is no longer suited to make Mortal Kombat games. Like that's the point where I started saying Ed needs to make the Grid 2 and have a happy retirement because this isn't working out anymore.
It's not me. It's you. It's you.
If you think that Chronica is suitable for MK's aesthetic and Drummond is not, you need a vacation, man.
No,
You need a vacation.
It's completely out of touch. So, I mean, just the way he looks, And the concept arts from Deadly Alliance that like revealed his backstory are so like just it's not a complicated story by any stretch of the imagination. It's just, hey, this guy used to be a warlord in Outworld and then he died and he's been tortured until he went mad and now he does the torture. But the artwork is so fucking good. It sells the character
good.
better than any bio I've ever read in the history of this franchise. I love this guy. And I think they're really sleeping on an important aspect about him, is that in his lore, he's not just a torturer, but the role of the Oni Tormentor, which is his like official title in the NetherRealm, means that he's in charge of torture. So in the MK universe, he's the equivalent of Pinhead of the Cenobites. Like,
Fucking hell.
you could do a lot with that. And they're just sleeping on it. And they're like, oh, he's dumb and he likes to eat. No, man, the point of the mask is that it's magic and it makes him intelligent.
I love it. Yeah.
Maybe he just doesn't want like someone else to have those Ghost Rider chains, Cough.
There's other stuff you could do.
I could totally see Drummond swinging chains around with hooks.
Yeah, that'd be cool, actually. Yeah, I definitely think there's a lot of potential still with the character. It's kind of crazy that they've just written him off the way they have, all because, like I said, one silly little item that he doesn't need to have.
It's really funny that we have Noob Saibot wandering around 11 with like a sickle coming out of like his chest and it's glowing and stuff. That's exactly what I could picture Drummond doing, but it's in his skin.
Yeah. Part of Drummond's design is that he has a knife sticking out of the small of his back where he can't reach. I love it.
So did Drummond lose his hand? Is that why he has the club?
Presumably yes. The hand was amputated as part of the torture, and the club is bolted on. But
okay, then just freaking magically
totally
put it
fudge
back. Like, yeah, just have him grow a hand back or magically get it replaced. Who cares? There's so many ways you can write around that one small detail. That's silly.
I mean, he has a fighting style in Armageddon where the club goes away and he has two hands.
Okay, well there you go. So yeah, that's just then it's super baffling. So if it really does come down to him not feeling like an MK character, I mean, think of how many characters we have in this franchise that are all over the board, archetype wise and inspiration wise.
I have a
we have
question.
cyber ninjas, we have robots, we have ninjas, we have sorcerers, we have soldiers, we have cops, we have kung fu masters, we have actors, we have bug ladies, we have demons, four-armed creatures.
I just
old
want to
men.
ask one question. So they tried really hard to get Ash Williams into MK11. What were they going to do about his chainsaw hand?
Oh, they'll make it work if they have to. I think that's kind of apparent. Like if it's character they really care about, they will. You said as much with Hellboy. Like clearly they make exceptions. That's kind of crazy and disappointing.
It's the hypocrisy. It's always the hypocrisy that gets me.
It's the hypocrisy for me, as the kids say.
For me, it was the lack of respect.
All right, so we're 3 C's and a B. Are we okay with sticking with C?
Yeah, C's good.
Yeah,
Razor?
I'm fine with C.
Okay.
Like B is just for me. Like personally, I love this character, but I understand a C.
You could just do more. That's all.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. And just because to make a statement, we'll put him at the front of the C's.
I think you have to move Blaze.
I was gonna say Blaze refuses to move. It's like, no, I earned this.
I was here first.
Too fat.
You'll have to fight me for it at the top of the pyramid.
He's got like food in his mouth and shit. He's like,
excuse me, pardon me. Yeah, he's finding a seat at a movie theater. He's carrying big bags of popcorn. He's burning up. All right, and now we're at Devora. Razor.
Devora is a soft D.
Oh, no one likes a softie.
In more ways than one.
God, look at the X. Just hold on. Small rant. Look at the X freaking artwork. Well, I guess, is that 11?
I believe that's 11 there because she has the hive shoulders.
Okay, my rant then I guess doesn't apply. If it was X, it'd be the damn mugshots. But yeah, I was about to complain about just how less vibrant this picture is compared to the others. But 11 was good.
Yeah. I mean,
Anyways.
this is much more yellow than a picture of her from X would have been.
Yeah, that's true.
I think Devora could be, like a. I don't think that she'd ever be better than like Reptile and Baraka as monster characters go. I think she could be like on par with them because she is a very unique and interesting design. And
Right.
obviously has a lot of character, like the fact that they thought out this whole culture where she refers to herself as this one and all that kind of thing. I just you have to take points off for the way they write her as this Mary Sue who gets to kill off established characters left and right. I think it's like they try to make her obnoxious and turn the fans against her on purpose, as though like they're trying to make her like a wrestling heel, but instead it's, I would call what she has go away heat or X-Pac heat. It's not working.
It's a thing that they've done, like, in a way, going back to like the 3D era, you know? It's like, hey kids, throw out your old toy because Movado just killed Cabal over here. Buy the action figure. Optimus Prime is dead.
Movado definitely
Optimus is dead. Buy
deserved to
Hot
be
Rod.
the Hook Swords guy. He was so much
Fucking-
better. What
you
an
know?
improvement. You'll forget all about Cabal and you'll love this new motherfucker. That didn't work, did it?
Remember the Hasbro reps being like, we actually didn't think that children would be sad that Optimus died. We thought they'd like new toys. I'm sorry. Tale as old as time.
So yeah, that's a D.
All right. Shad?
I give some big points for what Razor was saying, that like they obviously put a lot of effort and thought into her. I like her designs. Going back to MKO, I was like trying to design characters that like throw insects out of like sleeves or coats or their guts left and right. I always wanted a bug character. I designed like this whole like version of the pit that had like swarms of insects on the way down that would like eat you alive, that by the time you hit the ground you'd be a skeleton. I always thought MK needed someone like made of horror and too many legs. And she fits the bill nicely. But the problem is that, you don't sell someone by having them murder all the old cool people. I'm happy to have her back in the future. Just, maybe just not now. So yeah, for me, she's a soft bottom C.
All right. So we've got a D and a soft bottom C. Both either a soft D or a soft C. Not good for anybody. The fuck do you do with that? I guess push some rope.
I think you say you have a headache and you're not in the mood and you go to bed.
Or you duffel bag it. All right. So we've got soft D, soft C. Temp, what do you got? Whatever it is, make it soft.
It's a hard F. Yeah, hard F for Devora.
I knew this was going to happen.
No one's surprised. But
no, that's totally fair. Most people, I think, would give her an F.
Wow.
Yeah. Even if you take away all like the gross bug shit, honestly, I don't even have a big problem with. I'm fine with bugs. It's the holes I don't like. But even if you take, I was open minded to that. There are characters I don't like that won me over. I didn't like the fart stuff with Bo Right Show, but once I learned the story, like my heart grew 3 times bigger. Right? Nothing like that happened with Devora. But even if you take away the fact that she killed Scorpion, that she killed Jarrett, that she killed JFK, once you remove all of that, she's still so boring to me. Her whole personality is annoying, dumb bitch. And I don't care. I just think she's so uninteresting. So F, just easy F.
Man, this is the first one you guys are just pissing me off on. I was
being nice.
I am a known Devora fan, and Ooh.
Okay, bring it up. Let's hear it.
She's all yours, man.
I
She's
mean,
all
I've-
yours.
I've already said why I like her over the years. I mean, I don't like bugs. I'm on the opposite end of Temp, where like I have like bug phobia to a degree, but I just find her so fascinating. Like it's just such a unique design. I mean, when I talked about earlier about how the 3D era really started to make me lose faith as it went along with the new character designs as it hit Deception and then Armageddon, I was just like, I'm good. I don't want any of these characters. I love the trilogy. And it kind of cemented that fact for a long time until we got MK9. And then we all started doing the show and I started warming up to all of that in hindsight. And now I'm like welcoming them back. Devora was the first one to kind of bring on that, like, okay, I think I can trust them with new designs again. Like, I'm not afraid of new characters because people like Devora exist in some of the other ones. She was the first one I really like. She just is super interesting from the design standpoint, super interesting, super unique, unlike anything else that we have in this franchise, which I feel like is so hard to do when you by the time she was introduced, we were pushing 70 characters. So that's crazy to me that you can introduce somebody that truly is unique in their own way. So there's that. I love her personality. I love how she talks or they talk. I mean, she's like a hive mind. I think that's just such a fascinating character concept. Um, the voice that they have for her is awesome. The this one is this and blah blah blah. I love that idea. Plus, she has some of the just like sick as shit, like the fucking fatality in MK11. She had one of the best ones in the entire game. The thing, call out, and then you bring up like the story things of her killing characters. Good. I'm pro it. Was it a little heavy-handed? Sure. I mean I don't even know if that's debatable. But I mean, when it comes to like when I'm thinking like wrestling or in movies, when they're really trying to push a villain to make you actually care about this character and hate this character, that's how you get shit done somehow or in some ways. And it was a little bit forced and it wasn't.
There is such a thing as pushing so hard that it breaks the fourth wall. You can tell when it's artificial.
Sure. No, I get it. I get where you're coming from. I think you said X-Pac heat and all that. So I
Yeah.
get that. I totally get that. Like I said, they pushed maybe a little bit too. They've pushed a little bit too far and maybe had her kill one too many favorite characters. You know, the Melinas, the Barakas, the Scorpion, so on and so forth. Like I get it. It's just I really, really appreciated that a character was introduced that actually played a major role for once. Like the Ferritors, the Aaron Blacks were always complaining about how they just job nonstop. They amount to nothing. They're just there. They get beat on all the time. Devora is the fucking exception, and I am happy for her for that. Like, she is an amazing design, and the fact that she actually has story relevance and impact is huge. It's like putting their balls on the table. She's a bold character in a lot of ways. Like I said, a little bit too far, which is why ultimately I'm giving it the B. It's not an A, I just want to say. But yeah, I just feel like she's such a success story. And am I asking for her in MK12 or anything? No. She needs to sit out. Absolutely. We need a break because of how hard they pushed. But she absolutely deserves that B in my opinion. She
this
is
is my-
one that she might be the first one that I'm more pushy about because I just feel like she really
here's
is
the
something
thing,
fascinating and interesting.
Because obviously, I agree with you about the uniqueness of her design, and that she is definitely a creative new character, and it's sort of the thing that sort of gets me is that if you look at all of the new Outworld characters introduced in MKX, her, Ferritor, Kodal, and Aaron, and this is sort of the divide. Like obviously you didn't enjoy the characters.
There's the sit up. I
created
heard
for
you
the-
sit up.
You didn't enjoy the characters that were created for the 3D era. The difference to me is that the thing I appreciated about the 3D era characters is that they were all inspired by martial arts movies. They're
Sure.
all kung fu based characters. The Outworlders introduced in MKX, none of them fit a martial arts theme. They're all of like non-Asian cultures or just monsters.
Yeah, I
And
mean, I'm not
that
arguing that.
sort of hurts it for me. Like that's why I actually like, even though some of those 3D era characters, the end product sucked, the core idea is what I want MK to look like, which is, to take things from Shaw Brothers and Karate Kid and
Right.
Bloodsport and stuff like that.
Which I'm all for, but I also think you need some variety too. I mean, what you just said there
you look
almost comes
you can
into
have variety and still make a guy who looks like a kung fu guy. Like Baraka dresses like the monster version of a samurai. He's like an orc, but he's in like
Mhm.
Japanese fantasy armor. And his swords in a certain way are like this twisted evil version of having katanas. Goro is, a monster, but he's a monster that looks like a sumo wrestler or like Bolo Young, you know? Like you can do a monster and still have martial arts be a part of it. Draman is a monster and has no kung fu to his fighting style at all. He just swings the club wild, but his mask is clearly of a Japanese design. And he's called an Oni, which is a Japanese kind of demon. And
Right.
I feel like those aesthetics are missing from characters like Devora and Ferrator, and that sort of bugs me a little bit, drops them down a
But
tier for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to
all right.
contribute something. It is true that she has a rather large part to play in MKX's story and MK11's to some degree. But here's my problem with the way she was portrayed in story in MKX. And again, I understand why they did it. Does the character who turns out to be a traitor that works for the NetherRealm sound familiar to you?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, she
It,
is Tanya, yes.
Is
yeah, yeah.
Tanya. She
No,
does not have an original story of her own, and I
I
would have
never
preferred it greatly. If you got into 11 and she had stayed loyal to Kodal, you wouldn't have noticed shit. The
yeah,
story could have been exactly the same.
I
So
didn't
I
touch
have to
upon it.
deduct points for that.
Right. I did the
It's always
same.
bothered me. I get why they did it because you can't surprise people twice. Hey, look, it's Tanya. I wonder what she's gonna do. But
I think
it
they did a
took
poor
away
job
from character.
explaining in X why she changed from an atheist to joining Shinnok.
Yeah, you know,
I
Tanya
mean, I
could
agree
have
with
played that
you
role again.
in the sense that if you go back and listen to our recording history when we first recorded our reactions to X, that was a big sore point for me with Devora is I did not like how her story played out. That is my one disappointment with her, honestly. That's why I
I mean,
couldn't go towards an A is because of
I mean
that.
overall, so you gave her what, a B?
Yep.
You gave her a B, and Temp gave her an F. I think C is a fair middle ground.
Yeah, if we're rounding up, because you gave her D, Chad gave her C, so we're all
Maybe
this C would be the rounded up version of that.
maybe soft bottom C is a bit too harsh. I'm willing to just say C in general. C seems fine to me.
Really, I blame Temp. F tier.
Eh,
All right.
fuck 'em.
Ermac. Fuck him. Just out of spite. It's a spite fuck.
Wait, hang on.
You can make a really
Wait.
strong case for fuck it when it comes to Ermac. There's a very good argument to be made for that, but go on,
I'm
Shad.
salty
gonna
about
use a
Devora.
gonna
We're
use-
fucking Ermac. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm going to use a legendary quote. We do not think this is very fair.
Nah, for realsies though. Ermac, let's see where I put him. I put him at an A. I'm going A. My logic here is, yeah, he's fallen off a bit. I'm not big into the mummy stuff, but at the same time, I don't think it bothers me as much as someone like Temp or something. Like, I know he's pretty vocal about against that. To me, it doesn't bother me as much, even though I don't really love it. But I think there's enough strong stuff there with MK, his origins in MK3. Then you have with Deception, which was a high point, of course. I thought he was still really awesome in MK9. I loved his MK9 design. Not so much the going back to Shao Kahn, enforcer type as much. Like story wise, he's been really shit on hard, but I don't know, man. I'm still going A. I could easily see him as a B though. He's kind of it was between those two for me, so I'm going soft A on this. Temp.
I'm giving him a C. I think
Jeez.
Ermac. What's up?
No, just this surprises me. Go on.
Doesn't surprise me.
If Ermac never came into a game after Deception, he would be S tier easily. One of the most interesting to me. I don't think he has the best story in Mortal Kombat, but he made the biggest jump of any character in the series, going from works for Shao Kahn to probably the best redemption arc in all of Mortal Kombat when it comes to Deception. I really like what they did with the character once he had agency. And he changes the course of that story. When he teams up with Gosu Kang, I think when you can make a character that powerful, that broken, without straining the narrative, that is such an accomplishment. And so to set up that remorse he has and to pay it off by him subduing like half the Deadly Alliance heroes while Liu Kang does his thing, and just, yeah, it's so well done. And then everything else happens. So yeah, such a fall from grace. I'm not. To me, it's even worse than Cabal, because Cabal has been screwed over so many times. But it would take too long to explain the differences. But it is a little different. With Ermac, there's just nothing there. Like that character is gone. At least you can rationalize that Cabal is still arguably good in Mortal Kombat 11. It's just that it's either his past self or it's his Revenant self. But in between is still possible. With Ermac, that character in Deception is just gone. So it's unbelievably upsetting. Honestly, I don't even like to talk about it. It's a C.
Shad?
All right. MK's possible greatest success story. Where do you start? Like, this character has such a storied history. Every generation, there's something new and interesting about the character. Was MKX his best showing story-wise? No, not really. But you take this guy that went from, this arcade rumor character never existed, realized fully in Ultimate as a playable character, story created and expanded upon in Trilogy, goes away for a while, comes back, and Deception just throws him through the roof in terms of appearance and voice acting, sells him hard as this incredible force to be reckoned with, gives him an incredible 360 heel face turn between Trilogy and Deadly Alliance and Deception. Like, what's not to love? Like, a character like that, they've done almost, I feel like, everything that they could do with that guy. And even though he didn't do much of anything in, like, 9 or X, except for, rip off Jax's arms, that's something. Still plays a bit of a part. That 9 ending, that tidbit where you find out that there is, as a lot of us expected for years, a piece of Gerard inside him, his soul. That's the only thing I feel like you could further explore to make this character, to like fully flesh this character out. Once they do that, I feel like I can say we've been everywhere we can go with this guy. So I'm alright if like he's, not doing much in the background for 1 or 2 games. He's been so many places. He's had like almost a complete sense of exploration. And they still gave us a little bit more in 9 to work with. Is he an all-time classic character that would go in S rank? No, just falls a little bit short of that for me. But I could never ever see a time when I wouldn't want him back at some point. I love him, top to bottom. Just, make him feel less clunky in terms of gameplay next time. That's another thing that we have to consider. They retained his identity as a juggle master, There's no greater feeling than pulling off all those like ridiculous Ultimate MK3 combos. And they kept that feeling intact when they brought him back in Modern Gen. So yeah, absolute A for me.
All right. Razor?
So I strongly agree with just about everything Temp said. Deception Ermac would be A, maybe even S tier for me. MKX Ermac is a C or a D. So I split the difference and I put him in B.
All right. So that's.
I just want to add one more thing, actually. Like, how rare it is, going back to Deception Ermac, to introduce a story thread and to pay it off in the same game. Like, it's so rare to see that, right? So,
I mean, technically, they introduced it in Deadly Alliance through Kenshi.
oh, that's right. Well, but we didn't really get his perspective on it.
Yeah, no, it is more.
Because I think the fact that he felt so bad about all the horrible stuff he did, I think that was deception, right?
I'm sure it played into it somewhere in Deadly Alliance, whereas like when he freed him from Shao Kahn's control, Ermac wanted to do good.
I think
and was grateful, and that's why he taught him the telekinesis.
I mean, just the
They
teleslam.
say in the game he taught him the telekinetic slam, but I think the more nuanced way to look at it was that he taught Kenshi how to be better with his telekinesis.
You're correct, but the former is way funnier, right? So no, I agree. I just, as a Smoke fan, it's just so satisfying to see a story thread paid off like that decisively. I love that. So yeah, pour one out for Ermac. But yeah, that's it. I just wanted to add that.
All right, so we've got 2 A's, a B, and a C. Sounds like B is probably going to be the midpoint here.
Yep.
Which is fair.
Cyrax
I mean,
still reigning supreme.
I'm okay with that. Let's go on to Aaron Black.
I put Aaron in C. I think he's got some really cool positives, and he's also got 11 hurt him quite a bit, and then also like again the fact that he has nothing to do with the martial arts. It's just kind of awkward to have a guy who's not even good at fighting and just shoots a gun and sometimes drop kicks people in this fighting game. And it's like, I'm kind of getting tired of like the zoner dedicated, like there's got to be a dead shot in your NRS game. No, there doesn't.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. He's cool, he's unique, he's original. It's kind of clever to have a cowboy because that's an archetype and we didn't have one yet. But then there's all these other things. So split the difference straight down the middle, C.
All right, Shad?
I'm going to go ahead and say B, lower class B. Cool factors definitely there. I like to look at him as Mortal Kombat's very own Boba Fett. Doesn't actually get to do a lot, and yeah, MK11 did hurt him a little bit. Maybe no Confederate outfits next time, please. That shit sucked. But he is a ton of fun to play, and the personality is very entertaining. I definitely do want him back. He's fine as a grunt, but you gotta give him some cool points for being one of the more interesting Black Dragon, or at least the more cool Black Dragon, if that's a thing. Maybe.
Right. All right, so we've got
I don't think that's a thing.
a C and a B. Temp?
I give him a C. I think if it wasn't for MK11, he'd be a B. I think what he contributes to the franchise is very unique, and his MKX gameplay was really solid. But man, this character took a beating in MK11 story-wise and even gameplay-wise. So yeah, he goes down to a C. But he's very unique. There's no one like Aaron Black on the roster. So yeah, I think I think C is good for him.
Yep, I'm with the C's here. I had him as a C as well. So sounds like we got 3 C's and a B. Stay in C.
Yeah, fuck all y'all. Nah, it's cool. It's cool.
I think the fans are going to disagree. I'm interested to see what the comments are going to say about this choice. I think a lot of people I think most people would put him higher than we did.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't like scoff at a B or anything like that. I think those are both fine ratings for him.
I think a case for a B is very strong. I just didn't put him in there, but I think you could make a very like Shad did. It's a very
He would have been an easy B before 11 for me.
Yeah.
same.
I think I would agree with that.
I just kind of don't care about all the rewriting and bullshit that 11 tried to do with his story. I'm like, if you're smart, you're going to ignore that and go back to the X version next time, which I really hope that they do.
I mean,
For some characters, I agree. There are
we can
characters I
hope,
feel that way.
we
though.
can hope things and then not be surprised when Aaron is a black dragon in the next game. All right.
All right.
Gotta try to make them look cool somehow.
On to Ferritor. Ferritor, I had at a D. Ferritor is probably the D that I like the most.
I need an adult.
Oh, damn it.
Zing. Yeah,
I
I
waffle
am very
between.
surprised.
I waffle, but what? You thought I'd go higher or lower?
I thought you'd go much higher. I know you're a big fan of Ferritor.
You see, man, now I'm waffling again. Maybe I should change it to C.
Be honest with
You
yourself.
know what? Fuck it, C. I'm going C. I am gonna go C. I mean, I was really like straddling the line. Like I said, my favorite D of the bunch, I'm sure, because just I thought it's a mix of potential, but one, I am a fan of Mad Max, so I don't mind that aesthetic. At least on one character out of the entire franchise, I'm okay with that one. The Master Blaster
I mean,
type. I
one,
like the
one character is fine. I didn't like Snowblind because it was the whole movie.
Sure. And in addition to that, I am a sucker for, like, I have a soft spot for the big brute with the mouthy sidekick. I love Rocket and Groot. And there's more examples, I'm sure, than I can even think of right now. There's plenty. Like Two Stupid Dogs, right? Ren and Stimpy. Like,
I used to love that show.
yeah. I mean, it's just it's such a fun archetype to play up where you have this little mouthy character that talks all the smack, but then the big brute is the one that's doing all the dirty work. So I just like that archetype. I even like their ending, even if it doesn't end up being canon or anything, and that's not really what happens. I like that idea of the small one becomes the big one in the next game, and it's a new small one to, jockey alongside of them. I think that's cool. Gameplay wise, they're not the most interesting. I think that's what's really stopping them from growing, like becoming more for me. I like the grappler type. I don't know. There could be more there, and I think there's some potential still there if they want to do it better. Design wise, I think they're cool. I like the bag over the head for Tor and the rope and all that. Just like it's just a cool aesthetic. I think it's cool. So yeah, like I said, I was between D and C, but I'll edge to C. It's fine. It's probably more accurate to what I've long felt than the D. The D might be a little more knee jerk of late. Anyways, Temp.
I'm gonna give this character D.
Whoa.
I don't think the design is particularly interesting. I don't know. I'm not the biggest Mad Max guy as well. I did not like the ending. I was actually more open-minded towards the character, and then when you get to the ending, you find out that this character was going to expire regardless of what happened, and it's just like, okay, so even if I like this, assuming I like this character, it's not even going to be the same character in the next game. So why do I care? And also, a lot of it's the visuals. I just don't.
Theoretically,
I think it's terribly.
I do want to clarify something. The next game doesn't necessarily have to mean it's not the same character. I don't think they grow up that fast, right? Like, I know I said the same thing, but unless it jumps ahead so many years, Tor and Farah should still be their normal selves, right?
The only way you could make it cool is if, like, in the next game, it's still Farah Tor, but Tor's like all sickly.
I mean,
Maybe that could be interesting, but
theoretically, you have until Farah hits like 18 or whatever, like adulthood.
Maybe. I just, on paper, I don't really like the character. You know how I was talking about earlier with like Dagon and like connections to other characters and relationships and like meaningful interactions? Ferritor just doesn't have any of those. Ferritor is a brute. borderline comic relief character who I don't think is that funny. So
I do like I do like her little bullshit that she smack talks. It's fun.
I don't feel terribly strongly. Like if Ferritor came back, I'd be like, oh man, I can't believe they brought this character. No, I'd be fine. I'd be like, okay, well, Ferritor's back now. But yeah, I don't have a lot to love here. I'm not a big fan of this character.
I think they're a great example of like, give them a second chance, and if they still don't impress any significant portion of the audience, then I wouldn't be like upset if they were left into the past. But I think they're a prime example of a character that deserves still a second chance. They're not so offensive that they shouldn't be ever brought back at least one more time.
I don't think there's anything well, I think the ending's a little offensive because it makes the character feel meaningless to me. Even if it's not till like MK18 that it matters, or MK25.
But that's
but just
character progression.
I don't know. Like also like the Mad Max thing, I think hurts more than it helps. I would have taken the Mad Max concept and gone more of like with a labyrinth kind of vibe, and that would have been a lot more fun to me. But that's not terribly Mortal Kombat.
What, like Tora's eyes? Like Tora's eyes are on Farah's hands, so she has to put her hands over his face.
Feels like a labyrinth character.
Is that labyrinth or is that like Del Toro? That sounds more like Del Toro.
Yeah, it's Del Toro. It's Pan's Labyrinth, I think.
No. I'm thinking of David Bowie.
David Bowie Labyrinth.
I know.
Like that's the goddamn labyrinth, man.
I know. They're both great movies. I'm just saying.
We have too many fucking labyrinths.
Down here in the underground. What the fuck is that?
I saw my baby crying hard as babe could cry. Listen, I just don't care about the character. What's up?
Okay, that's fine. I mean, I'm not gonna fault you for a D. I was gonna give him a D.
Damn it!
But I decided to give him the C instead. A soft C. I was being kind.
All right, moving on.
Don't you want the C to be soft?
Tor just looks like a very not gentle lover. And Farah, of course, is not part of any of this because she's a very questionable age to begin with, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's actually another thing I don't really care about the character, but again, like that's an easy fix.
I don't think we ever firmly established whether she was like 13 years old or a little person.
No, they do. So when the game was coming out, there was like Ed was saying things on Twitter like implying it's not a child, it's a midget. But that was all
little person.
Sure, little person. Yeah. Personally, if I was, I mean, I am small. I'm like 5'6", but if I was little person small, if I was like legally small, I would prefer the word midget. I think little person sounds more belittling.
Well, either way.
Anyway, Ed said those things as basically a PR move so people wouldn't like think you beat up a child in the game. But then when you actually get to the game
dressed in B&D gear.
Yeah, first of all, nobody can actually hit Farah in gameplay. And secondly, they do reveal in the game she is a child. But I think she's like in the ballpark of 8 to 12. So you've got some time before the mutation and the new writer kicks in.
All right.
You know what? I feel like it'd probably be I feel like it would probably be a really good idea to actually maybe for once take the MK11 retcon pen to this character and just say, yeah, it happens when she's like 30 or 35 or something. No one would care.
So, they never really specified in that ending.
We can just forget about it and move forward. Good.
I mean, the other thing is you're going to have to change her age if you want to retcon her into, like, a game set before Cassie is born, right? Because if she is, like, 8 years old, then she's 8 years old. She can't be around for MK1.
Right.
But you know they're going to make one day where she's around for MK1.
Of course.
They can't help themselves.
So we've got C, and D.
You're going to get this character back because Ed likes them.
Yeah, it was his favorite in MKX, at least at the time.
Yeah.
It may have changed.
It's going
over
to happen.
the years.
I give them a C because I always enjoyed them. I think they would have made more of an impact if they had been the sub boss. Should have been a sub boss and all right. So I don't see why not. I can see them jumping ship to like Shinnok, whatever. Sure, makes perfect sense to me. I've always just been a huge fan of like the impish figure that speaks in rhyme and all sorts of like fantasy, like labyrinth stuff like that. And Farrah speaks to that to me. She's like part of that fun, mischievous side of MK that I also enjoy.
Yeah.
Tor is whatever. I feel like people were like disappointed with Tor because a lot of people were like, maybe it's Shao Kahn under there when X came out, and it's like, of course, MK fan base, you put a mask over something's face, and it's got to be a character that was already here before, of course. But I don't care. Tor is just
Moloch
whatever.
just shaved.
But no, I found them genuinely fun. I like their moveset, and I find Farrah hilarious. And I
Agreed.
mean, enough things about MK's aesthetics verge upon the post-apocalyptic that a bit of Mad Max influence doesn't bother me in the least. So, I'm okay with them being here. It's nice. MK is a melting pot of like pop culture references anyways, and I look forward to them coming back.
Yeah, they fit.
But yucks.
They feel very outworldy to me, which is
They do.
nice. I mean, I know Mad Max is like the new Outworld, which is not what any of us necessarily want. We want the purple and the mystique back into it. But I mean, like you said, it was always very wastelandish. So I think they speak to that in a way, kind of like Baraka, you know.
Exactly.
So
There could be a lot of things like lurking out there and like Shao Kahn's irradiated cesspit hellscape of a world.
right.
So they always felt like they fit right into that vision to me. I like them.
All right, Razor.
So, I gave them a D. We gotta stop phrasing it like that. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
We're placing them in the D tier.
I score them as a D. But I don't really dislike Ferritor. Like for all my complaining about there being too much Mad Max lately, and especially Snowblind, like I said, one character that pulls inspiration from a movie is within the feel of Mortal Kombat. You know, like most Mortal Kombat characters are from a movie. Like
Right.
Sector and Cyrax are based on the Predator and Boba Fett. Neither one is a martial artist.
Right.
But it's a movie reference, so it fits. So yeah, I'm okay with having Master Blaster, especially because like of the Mad Max movies, Beyond Thunderdome is my favorite. And
Interesting.
Master Blaster is the best characters in that movie.
Interesting.
But what holds Ferritor back for me is that their moveset is just kind of boring.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the exact solution is, because it would be kind of weird to give them like a magic projectile like everybody else has. But I also feel like, you know, just visually, a Zangief Green Hand would pop a little more. You know,
Right.
they'd look visually a little less bland.
Yeah.
I feel like they need to look a little bit harder at like Chang and Choi and Capcom versus SNK 2 and incorporate, I don't know, a couple of ideas from that. Maybe have him swing her around a lot more.
Maybe.
He just kind of tossed her around a lot. She was a projectile in a few different ways. I remember.
Yeah,
that.
he would throw her at people. I'm not saying the lack of a projectile is a problem. I'm saying that the lack of a visual like
ability of some sort.
They're the only character that doesn't like glow with magic at some point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And lore wise, they don't have magic, so you shouldn't add magic to them because it would be a retcon. But so I don't know what you do. I guess maybe better grappling, because the thing is, like, I love in theory a grappler, but what I love is when grapplers do professional wrestling moves, and Tor does not have technique. Tor is more like the Hulk.
This might be an interesting idea. So he should play it more of like a wrestler, and Farah is like his manager, and she's given him like the commands of do like the elbow drop and stuff like that would be
Yeah,
kind of a
yeah, that
fun
would be
thing to
cool.
play up. And
That's
then I would also give Farah an arsenal. Give her like all sorts of random scrap metal weapons that she hands to Tor and he throws at the opponent, or she throws it off his back or whatever. So like
I wouldn't mind if she
sickles and
had
knives and chains
like
and like
some
do stuff
sort
like
of
that.
maybe some sort of like a crossbow made out of scrap and rubber bands on her wrist
Yeah,
gauntlets or something.
do more
Shoot
of
little
that.
bits
I could see
of
that.
metal at you.
Give him like a chain ball. I don't know if that's
Well,
encroaching
that
upon
would be
anybody
biting
else's
in a
toes.
moloch. You don't
Yeah.
want to do that.
But yeah, I don't
Um,
know. Just stuff like that could be kind of interesting for them as like a duo. And I also think they're a victim of just how bland MKX was in terms of just
yeah,
the sapped out
that's another thing.
colors
Yeah,
and designs.
I wonder what a costume for Ferrator would look like in a game that has actual colors.
Yeah. So that in
But
itself is another
the
reason
the
I
the
would
one other
bring them
thing that
back.
bothers me a little bit is I feel like their story potential is limited to low henchman status based on the fact that Farah's dialogue, speaking of the Hulk, she talks like the Hulk. If she was like Master was in Beyond Thunderdome did not talk like the Hulk. He was like tiny and helpless, but he was intelligent, and
Yeah.
that was the trade-off that he, had Blaster for the muscle and he was the brains. If Ferris seemed smarter, I think it would be more interesting.
Or if Tor is really smart.
I wouldn't want her to like lose the impish peckishness, but you
No,
could do that with
she can
dialogue.
still be like a mischievous little shit. I
Speaking
just
in
want her to
rhyme.
speak well.
If she speaks in rhyme, but she's like still funny or some shit like that,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
seems intelligent. Like there's more going on up there than you would think, perhaps.
And I'd like to see like a little bit of like a sympathetic, like there's a scene in Beyond Thunderdome where Blaster gets fucked up at a cage fight and Master is like comes in and like is like sad about it and like mourning. And it's like the in Return of the Jedi when the Rancor dies and that fat guard comes in and is like, "You killed my pet," and he starts crying.
I have the sense that if we ever got a scene where like something horrible happened to one of them, the other one is in blind rage mode until you put them down, right?
Yeah, see,
That's the sense that I get.
I would rather see like Tor gets wounded in a fight and Farah is sad and you feel sympathy for the characters and they're not just the villain's comedy relief.
I mean, they can be both. They can be sad and then homicidal.
Well, that's the thing. If you have both, then you have a nuanced three-dimensional character. That's what I'm looking for. I feel like Ferrator is one-dimensional right now.
Unfortunately, I have to agree.
But
All right.
anyway, I gave him a D.
Yep. So we've got 2 C's, 2 D's. So I think we've been under the pattern of rounding up when we're 2 and 2. So we'll go up to C, and then that takes us to Frost. Go ahead, Razor.
So Frost would have been a B if not for 11. I gave her a C.
Okay, we'll put her at C for now. Anything else to add, or is that it?
Just don't do the cyborg shit. It's pretty much
All right, Shad.
Well, I'm on record as saying I don't care that she did the cyborg shit. Not a conversation that we need to beat into the ground again. I liked her in
yeah, we've been
11.
down that road.
I loved her a great deal in 11. But there's always going to be something that bothers me about like a disciple who's always just really eerily similar to their master in certain ways, and there's just something that holds Frost back to me. I like her a lot, but she's upper C, just below a B for me. A lot of fun, Like her in every game she's in, but she doesn't ever really blow me away either. I think that 11 was a huge step up for her in terms of like move sets, at the very least, if nothing else. And yes, I didn't like her throwing her own head around either, but that's a nitpick. So yeah, upper class C.
Okay, Temp.
See, just honestly, I don't have anything to say. Frost is Frost. I like her, generally speaking. She was exactly what she needed to be in Deadly Alliance. And yeah, I thought she's been okay ever since. I don't like the cyborg stuff, but like we don't need to tread that ground again. C. She's just a C.
Alrighty. And I had her at a B, just for obviously I'm a big fan, and I did like the cyborg stuff, so I've really liked all of her, like design wise and gameplay wise. I've always been happy with her. But the reason why I can't put her at as an A, typically I hold the A off for more of the elite of the bunch, and also the lack of just like real story development with her. I mean, I guess the cyber initiative stuff, I guess, was kind of, maybe if you squint, slightly character growth, but not really, because really it just amounted to her just once again turning against Sub-Zero and being a spiteful bitch.
Is it new? No, but is it consistent? Kinda, yeah.
So yeah, that would be my big I guess sticking point with her. So that would be 1B versus the 3Cs, so she would be a C. Next up we have Fujin. I have Fujin at a B as well. And that's tough, because I'm sure some will disagree with that. It was between an A and a B for me. And honestly, I don't know. Like, I'm sort of second guessing not going A, just because I think, gosh, that's tough. Maybe I do go to A. I'm looking at who else I have in the A, and I feel like maybe, just maybe. Yeah, you know what? He's been consistently done well. So I'm going to go to A. I think Fujin's an A. I thought he was done super well in 11. Even in MKX's story, I thought he was solid. MK4, he was great. So yeah, I'll go A. And he is absolutely a character that needs to come back. So not much else to say beyond that. We've talked up Fujin quite a lot. He's one of the few characters that we're all like unanimously very positive on almost all the time, I feel like. So yep, Temp.
I would put him in S tier. Fujin has fantastic gameplay across games. His character concept is brilliant. I love his visual design. Um, and I don't think he's ever looked bad, like ever. And I like where he sits in the lore. I like how he's networked within the cast of characters. I have nothing but good things to say about Fujin. And he might be, like, without contest, the best part about MK11. So S tier, easy.
Okay. Shad.
Never before has one man done so much with so little.
That's a good point.
Three games, consistently strong, showing across pretty much everything. Not always perfect, you know. Took a little bit of a while to build him up to what I'd say is the best he's ever been in 11, very, very easily.
Yeah, he was great.
But there's just something that's inherently really likable and enjoyable about him. Like the easygoing personality, like the arsenal of weapons and whatnot. Not the arsenal of weapons, but like the crossbow. That's fun. It still works even all these years later. Like the sky dancing, the wind kicks. There is something about him that's fun and refreshing. And I wouldn't trade Raiden for the world, and that's a conversation we'll have later on, but God damn, am I ever glad he's around when Raiden also is, sometimes?
Yeah, he's
You
in
know,
a lot of ways, Raiden is the god of blunder in a lot of times, at least the way they've written
I
him.
hate that so
Whereas
much.
Fuji, that phrase, or just the fact that that's the way it's been.
Fujin is the guy I want Raiden to be.
Yeah, that's what I was
It's
getting
so
at. Is like
sad.
Fujin is everything Raiden should be. He's just like the cool, calm, and collected voice of reason. Like he's just he's just that dude. He is
It's
that
almost like
dude,
it's almost like Christopher Lambert should have played him and not Raiden. It is.
right?
But I hold him back from S just because he isn't around as often as I would like him to be.
Yeah,
I can picture games where Fujin is not around, but god damn am I ever happy when he is, because I love him.
yeah.
So he's a solid A for me.
Yeah, that's if I wasn't convinced before, you would have convinced me to move up. So I'm glad I went with the A. So we've got A, and S. Razor, where are you at?
Uh, I could have gone either way between S and A, but I went with A because I guess it's for the same reason Shad said, that he's not around quite often enough to really to call him like a top tier my favorite character kind of character. But I've always like really liked Fujin. I From the moment he was introduced in Mythologies and especially in MK4, um I did think his outfit and moveset in Armageddon were a little bit of a letdown. They're just a little, bland, basically.
Could not have had the Devastator sword.
He didn't really do any of the things that I'm like. He had the little tornado thing and his
Yeah,
dive kick, I think, but
I don't hold Armageddon against anybody. Like, I feel like
yeah,
that
I
was
don't know.
just not the high point of the
There
series.
was a
I
lot of
guess
identity crisis going on during
Yes.
that period for a lot of
I think
characters.
I think it's more the outfit, because like for the longest time, Armageddon Fujin was the only Fujin we had, so there's a lot of fan art of it and a lot of, I think, treating it as more valuable than it was. Because to me, MK4 is what Fujin should look like, or at least it was until 11. 11's Fujin is what Fujin should look like. That it obviously superior, but like I don't know, the loose bangs and braided hair and the fact that his vest is that maroony red purple instead of black. I didn't think it worked. I was, we'd been waiting for Fujin to come back for so long, and then he came back looking like an Armageddon character.
Yeah.
Only thing I
But
think
yeah,
I'm
no,
gonna add is
he's A
this.
tier. I fucking love Fujin. I love him way more than Raiden.
Yeah, what the
When
fuck
I
was I thinking when I was gonna give him a B? Wow, just what an idiot.
when I look at Fujin, I see a character who is like a hair's breadth away from being every bit the classic that any one of the MK 1 to 3 roster is, or most people are. He's better than quite a few of them, to be very honest. I feel like he's deserving of like all-time classic status. Definitely one of the greats.
There's one thing. So obviously, like I've talked often on these episodes about that new mobile game and how shit it is. But there is one thing that its story mode does that I really appreciate, and then it's that while it's like retelling this vague nebulous MK1 through 3-ish era story, Fujin is with the team the entire time.
Nice.
He's like there with Raiden. And obviously that's because they're using 11 assets, so they have him. But yeah, it's I would like to see it that way a little more often.
All right. Fujin, 3 A's and an S. Sounds like a solid A. A well-deserved A. And that would take us to Garrus. Razor?
F.
Damn.
Anything cool about Geras you could give to Tremor and Blaze. He's too attached to Chronica for me to ever want to see him again. Because, like, part of Geras' gimmick is that he remembers deleted timelines. So anytime he shows up, he's going to have dialogue of, like, I remember MK11. And Razor the person, doesn't want to be reminded of MK11 ever again. So you have to get rid of the character so I don't have to hear him talk. Fucking big F.
Alrighty, Shad.
This is hard for me. This is actually challenging because there's a lot that I like about like the capacity that he has as this kind of immortal golem. But I just wish he wasn't fucking attached to, fucking Chronica, like Razor said. I can't in good conscience like give him an F because there's so much that I do enjoy. The idea of this eternal thing that just sees throughout all of time and space is really fascinating and fun to me. Like this feels like the guy that you encounter on your fucking journey to Mount Doom, who gives you the warning and then just goes back to being a statue. He's fun. I don't know. He's interesting to me. I like the idea of an immortal golem. He's just down to like his neck in a quagmire of shit. But I give him
Giggity.
points for, fun time-based move stuff, and Not the worst fatalities in the world, though nothing specifically especially amazing or anything. God, how I wish he had just been divorced from Kronika completely. Because he'd be so much better off if he were. I just picture him in this gigantic, tattered, hooded robe, kind of pointing the way to or away from things. There's something really cool that's there just under the surface, and the story that he got doesn't deserve him. He's a C for me.
All right, we've got F, we got C. Temp?
I'm gonna give him an F. I've said previously that not everyone in my F tier I think should stay gone forever. This character should stay gone forever. He has no personality. By design, he has no personality.
Actually, he does have a weird thing, like a hint of a personality where he enjoys killing, which is weird for like a robot, right?
Yeah, that's a bit unusual.
He's also, you could argue, I guess, loyal for whatever that means for a golem, maybe, but he's mostly just
like he's
straightforward.
supposed to be this super like intelligent and observant like watcher of history, but then he's also like a sadistic serial killer. I don't get it.
So he feels like a drone in the story. He just feels like he's following orders and just does shit. He feels like the Terminator to me.
Yeah, but he's also smiling though when he kills people. That's the part that bothers me. Why is he smiling?
Maybe the lesson there is that being eternal drives you mad eventually.
Yes. I don't know.
I just thought he was boring as hell. I don't like his design either. It's really hard to make a buff shirtless dude interesting visually. It took me years to warm up to Johnny Cage, and I'm finally at a place where I think Johnny Cage is and looks cool.
But he's not just shirtless. He has chainmail built into his shoulders for some reason.
Amp, I'm going to remember that you said that because now you're no longer allowed to play any SNK games because that's half their fucking
Man, remind me about that after the show, Shad. I have an anecdote about that. I'll say that off air. But yes, so, and I hate Kronika, and he's very Kronika. He's extremely Kronika. At least with Cetrion, I can visually divorce those two things. With Garrus, I can't. He looks like he follows Kronika. I don't think time powers and sand powers are a good mix. I think that kind of clashes for me. Okay, an hourglass, I get it.
Yeah,
but
I was going to say, I
still
disagree.
Does he have glass powers? Does he have wooden
cool.
beam powers? Like, it's fucking stupid. I'm sorry, this character sucks.
But if he
I don't
were
know
a
if
glass
I don't know if
ninja,
leaning so heavy on the imagery of hourglasses is where I would have gone. With
At
all
least
the
put a
time
time character first.
I think I'll actually take it over like clocks. Just sitting there chucking clocks at you.
But imagine if he had like
everyone duck. Garrus has a giant clock.
Imagine if he had like a Flava Flav clock, and when he turned the finger, the minute and hour hands, that rewinded you.
Kronika. Terrible, just terrible.
Alrighty. So I'm not going to be much of a dissenting opinion here. I was not a big fan of Garrus either. I don't get why people. I just don't. Yeah, I feel like is he really this disliked in the community? I thought he's got his own
I feel
fan base.
I don't know.
like his own
There are
following.
people who like him, but
I mean, I'm talking. I said when we started this thing. I look at this and I see potential. I'm not 100% seeing what's there. I'm also seeing what could be there. And in his case, I have to be really sympathetic. Three of us dislike him. I like him. I'm the lone voice in the crowd. That's okay. I'm proof that he has some sort of admirers or a fan base.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think he does. I think he does.
There's something there, but I'm very prepared to say that there's just not enough of it. Absolutely.
just whatever you see that is there could be given to other characters that he's stealing from already.
Blaze isn't eternal. He's just very old.
He
There's
could be
something about-
eternal. The only reason he's not eternal is that he's programmed to start a fight that invites people to come kill him.
There's something about a certain timelessness that Garrus embodies that I do enjoy.
What would cause a lava man to experience age? Like, he's obviously not going to get wrinkles.
I mean, they're both very similar in that, like, the whole raison d'etre that they have is kind of baked into who they are, sure. But Blaze is very much focused on a specific event and time. Time.
I think
Geras
you could
Geras
write
could
a
do
divorcing
anything.
of him from like being so like I only exist for Armageddon. You could have him do other things.
I don't know. I wish that were the case, but he's literally a walking tool.
At any rate, I was gonna put him at
Uh,
D. So you got C, D, two Fs. I think that comes out to D.
That's fine.
Averaged out. Yeah. Then let's go to Goro. So for Goro, I put Goro at a B. Yeah, I feel pretty good about that. Yeah, B. Goro's had his ups and downs. I think most of us, if not all of us, would probably agree the best Goro ever was story wise was in the Mortal Kombat Gold ending for Katana, right? Where
Yeah,
they made
yeah,
the peace treaty and it looked like he was actually going to be like good for a
yeah.
bit, and then they just kind of threw that
MK
away in
Ford a Deadly
Deception.
Alliance. Yeah.
and then yeah, he's kind of floundered since. He was cool in X, like his gameplay wise. He didn't play any story relevance because they offed him in the comics, I think, or they cut his arms off or whatever. But yeah, I thought he was fine in X. He seemed pretty hype. I wouldn't mind seeing him come back just from a. I would love to see him actually get any sort of story development because he's often a character that just seems to be kind of going around in circles like most. He is my favorite of the Shokan. I'll say that. I know there's a lot of Kentaro fans, and just because he doesn't get as much as the others, and he deserves his opportunity, and he keeps getting the shaft. But for Goro, I mean, I'm a fan. He's a classic. He's Mortal Kombat in a lot of ways to me. So yeah, B seems to be fair there. I like him. Temp.
Goro's weird. It's a very similar situation to Ermac, but to a lesser extent. But Ermac was just amazing at MK Gold, and he fell off so hard and never really recovered story wise. He's a C.
All right.
That's all I have to say about Goro.
Shad.
You know, whenever someone like wants to compare characters with, I don't know, if you wanted to compare characters with like valleys and peaks in the storyline of Mortal Kombat, specifically, Goro is like my go-to example. Because I feel like in many ways this character hasn't really existed as I know him since Deadly Alliance. X gave him some cool stuff, and his personality seemed pretty consistent with what I expected of him, but you know, he was basically a walking plot device in 9. They had him and Kentaro job to Cyber Sub-Zero. I'm never going to forget that, ever. Just turns into like this abandoned plot thread in X's comics going into 11, dead on a throne for no reason. And yet, despite all of that, this is still the guy that I think of when I think of the visual image of Mortal Kombat in my mind. Goro is Mortal Kombat in some way and shape I can't define, but you probably know what I mean when I say it. I just don't care that they've fucked. I don't. It's not that I don't care, but the fact that they've fucked him up here and there, like since Deadly Alliance, even in the original timeline in Armageddon, doesn't matter to me because he's quintessential. I can never ever picture a future of Mortal Kombat that doesn't involve Goro in some way, shape, or form. I would hope that he's treated well, which he hasn't been for quite some time. But this character screams the spirit of MK to me. He's an S.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, when you say he is the image of Mortal Kombat, I know exactly how you feel because like when I think of the 10th tournament, the picture in my mind is of like the Goro lives shot with the blue streaks of light behind him in the attract mode of MK1, or as far as portraying Goro as the boss of the tournament, as the champion to be beaten, and like as a major role in the story of that competition, nothing ever did it better than the 95 movie.
Yeah.
And then so you have that, and then I fucking adore MK Gold to Deadly Alliance Goro. The fact that they like basically invented the idea that the Shokans are a culture bound by honor, that he's basically Worf from Star Trek TNG.
Fucking yeah.
And I'll look, if you're on our Discord, you may have picked up that I am a huge Star Trek fan. I've been a Trekkie since I was a little kid. Worf is actually my favorite TNG character. So that version of Goro would be an A or an S. Unfortunately, you have Deception, and then there's the fact that the entire NRS era devalued him to the point that, like, in MK9 story mode, Johnny hasn't even heard Goro's name before when it's time for Lou to fight Goro. He says, "What's a Goro?" right before that fight. And the entire rest of the thing, Goro is treated as just Reptile or Baraka, but taller. And that's sort of how he's looked at for the entire NRS era. And in the fucking 2021 movie, he's done a little bit dirty in Scorpion's Revenge, although he gets a pretty good opening showing against Jax. It's just there's been like a, I don't know, a neutering of his dignity and a devaluing of him as a character that brings it down to where my final score for Goro is a B.
Okay. So what do we got?
I think it was BBSB?
I was C for Goro.
BCSB.
BBCS, right? Because I gave him a
Yeah.
B, you gave him a B, Temp
Yeah,
gave him
yeah.
a C, Shad gave him an S. Okay, so that averages out to a B or an A. So the C and S would cancel out to a B, like in between A and B. So it'd be B. Yeah. So leave him at a B.
God, that hurts my soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, who knows? Maybe he'll make another strong appearance. I think he's one strong appearance away from being an A, honestly.
I just, give me that honorable man back.
Yeah.
That's all I'm
Absolutely.
asking.
Yeah, just write him as someone who fights for Shao Kahn because it's for his people. And that if he knew Shao Kahn was fucking plotting against them like he did in MK3, then he would do the right thing. That he's not a character who has to be a fucking villain.
Give me the guy who's magnanimous even when he's beating the shit out of people he completely outclasses. The guy that respects you for trying, that respects you that you have a spirit of a warrior, Okay. Moving on before we get depressed.
Yep. We'll finish off with Havoc for this episode. So Razor, why don't you kick us off with Havoc?
Havoc is an A. An easy A. I wish he had more appearances so I could put him in S, but he doesn't. By far the best thing about Deception. One of the best new ideas of the 3D era, along with the basic concepts of Sato and Chaos Realm. And just a really fun character, and I love that. So obviously I've complained about the way he was written in the MKX comic, that he, by the end of the book, just kind of has become like a generic cackling Skeletor type Saturday morning cartoon villain. The havoc that we had in Deception Conquest was unexpectedly chill. You know? Like that's chaotic too. For a character who looks like he's going to be a ridiculous nutcase, to actually have kind of like a calm whispering voice.
There's layers there. He does not
Yeah.
conform to anything you would expect of him.
I like that. I like that a lot. And the fact that, you know, if the end result will be to cause more chaos, like if the villain is an authoritarian fascist, he'll side with the good guys. You know, he is not a bad guy, he's a chaotic guy. Sometimes working with the heroes is what's best for unpredictability and making sure the universe stays wacky. I fucking love Havoc. A+.
All right, Shad.
I feel much the same, but like you said, you know, it's hard for me to give a character so many points when all they've had is like the one major appearance. You know, when I said Fujin had done like so much with so little, you know, double that for Havoc. The only thing that holds him back is that I wish he was around more, because he is like a character that they nailed out of the gate. Not perfect in the comics, but passable, I suppose. We all want that guy back, every single one of us. I can't give him an A or an S because he just not quite earned it yet, but he's so fucking close. He can taste it. It tastes wacky. Like, I don't know, peanut butter and like hot chilies or something. That's the taste of havoc. It's the taste of chaos. Peanut butter and hot chilies.
Of course. Naturally.
So he's an upper B for me. He's at the top of the Bs.
Temp?
Yeah, I put him in B. With most of my A characters, they've all achieved something very substantial, or there's something that's part of their legacy that I think is very like important or interesting or whatnot. Havoc just hasn't done enough, but I love the concept. But right now, he's still kind of just a concept. Nothing he really did in Deception really blew my mind, and that's why he's in B. He could very easily be an A tier character, but yeah, for now he's B.
Yeah, I'm with you and Shad. For me, I marked him as a B as well. So I think that brings us to 3 Bs and an A plus. So we'll go with B, but I think we're all in agreement. At least those of us in the B, is that if he just did, he's just it's similar to Goro, where it's like Havoc's just on a different end, where he just hasn't had that opportunity to do more. So he's just always kind of there, just playing a cameo, nothing more. And I feel like if they truly do bring him into MK12, they gotta do stuff with him. I mean, it would be awesome if he has a great design, great gameplay, and all that, but I hope he's not just there as background filler. I think he is just one appearance from being an easy A. No doubt. But yeah. And that'll wrap it up for the first part of this series. Obviously, we are talking at length of each character. This is not going to be a quick endeavor, but we got through a good chunk, maybe a third, fourth. Some characters are going to go faster than others. These are some good discussions that we had, though.
It's
on
amazing
each.
how we can't shut up. It's wonderful.
Well, no, I think this was awesome. Like, we could have easily blown through this in the amount of characters that we did in like 20 minutes, if not less, like easily, if we just all just said what we ranked them and move on. I think it's all about the discussion. That's what we're here
It
for.
shows
That's what
the
people,
love.
yeah, that's what people expect from us. I don't think anybody expects anything less. They'd probably be disappointed if we gave each character a minute or less total from each of us. Like that's not who we are. So we're going to talk about each character and give them their just due, and explain why we're ranking them the way we are. So that being said, this will be an ongoing series, so tune in next week as we pick up where we left off, and we will continue on ranking each character, and we will continue doing this until we're done. So yeah, on that note, thanks everybody for tuning in. Like the video if you haven't. That really helps us. It's just such a simple thing. It takes you 2 seconds. Just click the thumbs up. That would greatly help us and put the exposure out on the video. Beyond that, once again, check out the Discord community. It's in the description. We're always welcoming new members, and we're excited to talk Mortal Kombat with everyone, so come check it out. And if you disagree or agree, let us know in the comments below with where you place each of these characters. We're always curious where everybody else is coming from. And yeah, take care, everybody. We'll see you next week.
See you later, nerds.
Take care, everybody.
Have a nice day.
That was kind of creepy.
That's the one.
That's the one.
That was
works. That's it. That's what I've decided on.
That's the one.
It works, doesn't it? I'm bringing it back.
All right.
He's unbalanced the Furies and doomed our realm to eternal torment. Have a nice day. The soundboard.
Outstanding.